entombed for 3,000 years, wrath growing in me. I have lived an eternity suspended in darkness. Release me. Condemned and bound, the sands of time have run out. Curse fills the room, curiously open my tomb. Rising from the cradle of death, my sentence has come to an end. Release me, release me. Wasting and running. Release me, release me. My curse is your curse. Death is the gift I bring. Revenge in my hands. I feel no remorse. This is the mommy's curse. Release me, release me. Wasting and running. Release me. Catching a reflection in the mirror of something standing in the corner of my room, watching me, observing me. Is it my imagination or insanity? A strange hum, a flash of light. I'm overcome, nothing but fright. Otherworldly beings taking me in the night. I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel real. I wake up in my bed. Was it just in my head? Looking at my hand, there's something there. Inside of me, I'm feeling oh so scared. Confusion and nasty fear. It wasn't just a nightmare. So loud, so bright, hypnotizing me, figures lost in time. I'm tortured, surrounding me tonight. I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial Was it just in my head? Where are they taking me? Fears welling in me. Where are they taking me? Anxiety rising. Is it just in my head? Paralyzing panic. Is it just in my head? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel real. I wake up in my bed. Was it just in my head? Who's holding my hand in the darkness? Seeing ghosts down the hallway. There's a presence, bedroom shadows, cloaked and haunting me. Cold hand touching me. Fear overwhelming me. Tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes. A breath on my neck. Floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on. I wake up paralyzed. Ghostly apparition hovering over me, asking what it wants to know. I'm shaking now, it calls out my name. Cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me. Fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes. A breath
that,
on
James?
my neck. Floating
Are we going by that now? Is that what we're doing?
Go to sleep with the light on. I wake up paralyzed.
So let's go ahead and get started here. So we got 116 people in the chat. It's not, we have any big numbers right now, but it's enough to get started here and talk about what we got to talk about. It'll fill up. Here's the thing. Before I bring on my co-host and my guest tonight, one of the things I wanted to say is, it's Saturday. We're thinking about moving it to Rumble because Saturday seems to be the night where we would be talking about a lot of things. It could be, fringe, borderline. This is the learning night. Usually, it's sort of what it's become. I had a few listeners tell me that this is like the night where you're going to learn stuff. You know what I mean? So maybe we're going to move it to Rumble coming up pretty soon here. I'm going to give it till the end of this month and reevaluate it and see how far along we are. We hope that Rumble it takes off, and we are getting some views over there. But we're only, how many episodes have we put on there so far of the podcast?
I think about 70, maybe.
70 podcast episodes, and none of the live streams, right?
No.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see how it goes. I got an amazing story that really blew my mind. Her name was Angela, and Angelica would be her name. And it's weird because I was talking to Anthony and Tony about this, and we look back in the on the files, and there have been a few women named Angela, have that real name, Angela, who have been abductees. Well, I say a few, there was like three, but still, I mean, it's more than the other names. Let's put it that way. And then we found a couple Debbies in there, like names of people. These are weird, synchronicities there or whatever. And then for men, I think the most prevalent name was John. Of course, obviously, is a very common name. But one of the names that stood out to me, there were two different Tristans that had been abducted. And so I thought that was odd. And so we just started going through the name game, and we were like, what is this? This is weird. And it's like really weird. And you sit there and you go back and you start thinking about like, there are no coincidences, you know? And I had a handful of people that I had written these notes down as I was talking or messaging back and forth, because you don't always talk to everybody, but you message people back and forth. And most of the time that's actually what we do. But sometimes, you really feel like you need to talk to somebody, you talk to them. One of the things I noticed too was like the number of abductees that were born under certain signs. We were trying to look for patterns, and then we found a few. And then some of these people who actually had gone out and done, I wouldn't suggest doing this. This is something I would do, but if you're so inclined to do it, go for it. But people going out and actually getting their the blood type thing is fine. I mean, go get your blood type, everybody. You should know that anyway. That's something's very important. You should just know your blood type. I know mine. I know my wife's. I know of everybody. But you should know your blood type. And a lot of people had made a thing out of the Rh negative blood type thing, right? Well, here's what I'm going to tell you about that. These people don't all know their blood type, but they do know their lineage, and a lot of them hail from Northern Europe. And then there were several people who were from, believe it or not, Southeast Asia. We had like 4 abductees from Southeast Asia, and about 8 of them that were from China, Japan, North or South Korea. So in the Far East, people being abducted, 3 of which ended up in the inner earth. That's my opinion. That's what I believe happened. We can argue about it all day long, but at the end of the day, who really knows like what we're dealing with? I mean, you can say speculation. So we took about 2 days. When I say we, it was me. Let's be honest. The other people didn't do anything. They don't contribute crap. I'm joking. No, they did a little. They had things to do too. They have jobs and things like that. But I gave everybody a little bit of an assignment, and I said, hey, you know, let's get through this. And so we're also doing that right now with the live streams. We're cataloging all the stories and the reports. Especially since I have to go back and interview some of these people for my new book. So and like I said, I pretty much wrote 2 books. One was done, I could say, and the other one was a project, and it was and the other one would be done if 2 of the main witnesses hadn't said, hey, we don't feel comfortable talking about this now. Can't fault them for it. I mean, it was the I needed those witnesses really to round the book out, and it was an MK Ultra book. So what am I going to do? And then the UAP book that I was going to write, or was in the process of working on. The guy went back to England, so here we are. So 3 months down the drain. Not really, but maybe, because I don't know if I'm ever going to revisit that subject. And so I went to Barton about it, and I said, hey, can you help me finish this project, whatever? And he's like, bro, I don't know. He was very honest. He's like, I don't know anything about that. We would have to get the information and try to like put it together. And it was just like too much. There was no way we could do it all. And so now here we are, months down the road. I'm disappointed. I was hoping to have had a book out by February, and then now it looks like we're not, we may not be until June, July. So it's a setback, but it's going to happen. It will happen. If I have to sit there and catalog it all myself, I will. I sub that work out to somebody who so far has really not done it. And so paying them too, like telling them, look, if you do this, when you complete it, I'll pay you, because we don't have time. So we turned it over to somebody that's just been, granted, that person has some reasons for why. I mean, they've been under a lot of stuff going on, so they haven't really had a chance to get in there and do whatever, because it's been one thing after another with family illnesses and stuff like that. So I'm gonna have to move in another direction to try to get it done, or just flat out do it myself. But when you're doing 1,000 things, it sucks to have to do 1,001, which is kind of where we're going to be at. Thomas, yeah, all you got to do, dude, is just start doing it. I mean, just go in and start looking, like going through. Hit me up, whatever, if you want to help work and catalog it or whatever. That's what we got to do, is just break it down. And it's already been transcribed. You can go through the transcription of it, but the thing is, that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is just, a breakdown of what stories are told on there, on those particulars, so we can put thumbnails on them and do it, and basically just have a record of what was talked about on those shows, so that we can use it as a catalog for if you want to go back and reference a show. Because doesn't it suck? I mean, we talk about something on a live stream 2 or 3 months ago, there's a story in there somewhere that will never be retold on the show, because I don't do that. I try not to retell stories. If I do, it'll just be a quick overview. I'm not going to go and retell it, because that's just that, to me, that's cheating. It's like double dipping. Oh, guess what? Tonight we're going to have the best of. That's never going to happen, dude. I'm not going to just record a bunch of my stories that I've told from people and then replay their encounters on the best of or some crap. To me, that's lazy and that's crap. Okay. It's just not how I work. I don't operate that way. I mean, there's enough material out there to where and that's if you want to be lazy and still get people to watch and get views. To me, people who do that, and that's fine if you do. And I have a couple friends that'll do that. Sometimes they'll repackage stuff, whatever. But most of the people who do that, they're not my friends. I can tell you right now. And there's two of them in particular that love to re-upload, and they love to repackage. It's like, oh, the best of bunch of blah blah blah, because they don't feel like you know doing whatever. You know, um, I don't do that. I don't feel comfortable with that. You know, that's why whenever I go on someone else's show, I always bring something new, because I don't want to just spout out the same old stale whatever, whatever, whatever. When you have access to the libraries that we have access to us here at Paranormal Roundtable, because of the deals that were made over the years with certain individuals and certain groups, you really have no excuse. Because if you can't get a story, which there's new stories all the time, and there've been dry spells where, not now, not in the last couple of years, but there've been dry spells where you know, we had to dip into the files of other people. And, of course, we said, hey, can we use this? And they said, yeah. And it's just a story just sitting there because, they haven't gotten to it or whatever. I'm sure they went back and did it later or whatever. And I've been told that before, like, oh, that story you told, I heard it on blah, 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 or whatever. I didn't steal it from them. Okay. If I did use it, I got permission to talk to that person or to correspond with them or to retell that encounter. And sometimes I'll be like, hey, there's a story that I heard from blah, blah, blah. And this is where I think I remember it coming from, and I'm not 100% sure. And you guys can always go back and check. But there's people that just like, they key in on every little thing, and then they make a big deal. Like, that's not the name of that particular street. It's Farm Market, blah, blah, blah. Who gives a crap? It's the same thing. It's what happened. Okay. Doesn't matter. Doesn't change the fact. And I'm not going to give you I try not to. I have, sometimes I mess up, but I try not to get uh like too too close to the, I'll give you the street, maybe first name. That's, I don't really do, because I've heard too many horror stories from people who've said too much, and then people, they always go and they look, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let me just say this right now. I don't have a problem with my listeners wanting to go and see it, because that's human nature. It's just curiosity. Now, curiosity killed the cat. I get it, but I'm the same way. The first thing I do when I get a story is drive to that area and go look, and and I'm usually with some people in my crew, and I think all but like maybe once or twice I've had at least one or two people with me, so that if something happens, they can bear witness. Um, but for the most part, um, I don't want to aggravate the people. And if they have purple posts, I damn sure don't want to go onto their property. Me and Anthony came real close to doing that one time. Um, getting out, and we were walking around, and we saw the purple post. We're like, oh, that's we're good, because here in Texas, that means so we're not going to do that. And I don't want something happening, because that's a quick way to get in some deep trouble with whoever the owner of the property is. That happened with Hernandez Ranch. Somebody actually did find it and put some, and then they were told to, there was a whole thing that went behind that. There was cease and desist letters that were sent out, and then there was some issue involving me. I did not divulge their information. But when Abel passed away, he didn't speak to me, and that hurt, because I believe that he passed away thinking that I betrayed him, and I didn't. I didn't. That was another reason for that other. It was just one more thing. But it is what it is. At least his family knows. They know that I wasn't responsible. They figured out who it was, an overzealous researcher who was just like carpet bombing. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't know the exact location. They just went to everyone, and then and even then they didn't figure it out. They just, to this day, I don't think they know exactly where it's at. I think they just but they did get letters from lawyers basically saying to knock it off, because those 3 different ranches now, because they're divided up. And one of the families that lives out there, they want nothing to do with it at all. They don't even want to talk about it. When I came calling, they were polite, but they just said, we're not going to talk about it. Anything we tell you, you are not to talk about. And they did tell us some things. And so I kind of looked at Anthony and my brother, and we're like, okay, we're not going to talk about it. So they had something to say about it, yeah, but they were not interested in, just not interested. So that's kind of how it goes. So let's bring on my esteemed colleague and co-host, Chris James. Strange things.
Trying to stay awake. It's been one of those days.
See here, let me put my headphones on so I can hear you. I'm over here like, all right, there we go. I can hear you now.
Trying to stay awake. It's been one of those days where, it couldn't end soon enough, and then it's like, oh yeah, I got the show tonight, so that perked me up a little. But
hopefully it'll get better. Hopefully, because anything you want to talk about, or you just better leave it on the shelf.
Whatever everybody else wants to get into. Is there going to be another guest, or?
Yeah, we have a guest, but I'm talking about what happened to you. You want to tell us?
No. It just working, cleaning the kitchen.
Yeah.
When
I go into the kitchen, my pig, one particular dog, one particular cat, and then my pig, all 3 team up to try to kill me. They try to trip me. We have this big island, and they run around the island freaking out because they think they're going to get food. And I tell you right now, it's Baby, the dog, it's her, and then Honey Butters, the cat, and then Truffles, our pig. Those are the 3 killers. They're trying to get rid of me.
I think that's the animal's job. They think they're going to trip you up and then run over and lick you to death or something. But
or for ours, feast on our corpse. But I can't
that's
be certain that's what they're trying to do. I'm just I'm just assuming the worst, because it happens quite a bit. I'm like, as soon as I go in there, the Truffles, he's the alert pig. He's like, rah, rah, rah. And then all the animals know, hey, he's in the kitchen, so they run in there. But it's my own fault because I always manage to throw them a little piece of something, and then I can't get anything without giving them. And then Truffles got his little. We keep a thing of cherry tomatoes right there for him.
how did you
So,
wind up with a pig?
we were at a bull riding event for my friend Mike Sealer. He's also my insurance agent. He's a good guy, and he puts on bull riding events. Which subsequently I got a really good dogman story out of somebody who I had given my number to, like almost 2 years now. But he reached out to me just the day I was on with Bonds and Booze, this past Thursday, and he messaged me and says, "I got a story for you." And so I'm going to be doing that one pretty soon. That one's a good one. Like, we talked for about 30 minutes and he didn't even scratch the surface of what's going on. But I told my insurance agent about it, and he said, yeah, man, there's a lot of weird stuff out there. But he's out of Bell County. And Bell County is sparsely populated. But it is rich in like really nice fertile farmland. And then there's ranches and most everybody is a farmer / rancher. It's like a hybrid. And there's this one place out there that we like to go to the bull riding events at least 3 or 4 times a year. I follow the circuit. I'm actually friends with some of the bull riders that are like world famous bull riders, like the Salgado brothers. There's a guy named Zeke from the Austin Gamblers. I got a couple of pictures with him when we were at Scruggs. And, one of them came on the show, Stetson Lewis. So bull riding is kind of like a hobby, not a hobby, but an interest of mine, and that and fights, and so it's just something to watch and to relieve stress, because I'm not the one having to get punched or get gored.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, you're not the one on the bull, I hope.
That's right. It's the gladiatorial mindset, whatever. So we went to the bull riding event, and there was a lady there, and she had a bunch of little piglets. And I know the little bastards are trouble. Okay. And I know they are, because I've had, well, it's not wearing it now, but I usually wear that board tusk around my neck. So yeah, you can see where I'm at with them. But my wife had a little piglet, and she was like, "Oh, isn't he cute?" And it was in her jacket. And I said, "No, he's not. And that's not coming home with us. So don't try it." Mm-hmm. And she was like, "I just want to play with him until the bull riding event's over." I said, "Okay, well, we got 2.5 hours. You can play with him, and then that's it. He goes back to where he came from. I don't even know where he came from. I don't care." And I walked by the trailer where they had him, and there was a bunch of them. They were big. And so Truffles, we didn't have a name for him at the time. It was just the little shit that was in her jacket. And walked back over there, and I said, "He's the runt." I was like, them other ones over there, they're pretty big size. They're about twice the size of him. And he was real calm, real calm for a little piglet. He really loved Nellie. Like, he just clung to her. She has that energy. But both of us get animals. They get that energy from us. And so she had the little dude. And at one point he started like clawing at her with his little hooves, because one of the bulls had gotten real cantankerous, and we were sitting this far from the fence. Like, you could hold on to the, and I was literally leaned over holding on to the deal, just kind of looking, and this bull just came, and his horn came about that close to me, and I backed up, and I said, "Okay, I guess I better sit a couple feet back." And he got nervous because of the and all that noise, and that pig started kind of, and then she's like, "Oh my gosh," So I keyed in on that, and I said, "See, he's not so sweet when he's clawing you up with his little hooves." And she was like, "It's okay, it's okay." And I didn't know she had like a lot of padding right there that didn't hurt her, so that didn't deter her. So at the end of the night, I said, "Put the pig back, in the little pen." And I heard the lady, and my wife did. She put it back, and then I heard the lady talking to somebody, and she's like, "Go ahead and take one." She's like telling somebody, she's like, "We just want to give them away. We don't want to." She's like, "And if we don't, we're going to sell them to the Fernandez," I forgot, or whatever, Francisco, whatever, Mexican restaurant. Started with like an F or something like that. And I was like, "Excuse me?" She's like, Yeah, we're gonna sell them to the Mexican restaurant. You know, that's what we did with the last litter because they have some pigs that they raise. And I was like, oh man, and he was like squealing like he wanted to go with Nellie. And so when she turned back around, I just reached in and grabbed it, gave it back to her, and I said, I guess we got a pig now. Let's just go before I change my mind, And then he just slept in her jacket all the way home. And then that night we were feeding him. The next night, or no, it was 2 nights later. The little dude liked grapes, and so I was giving him these little half pieces of green grapes, and I dropped one, and his little head was about that. He was a little bitty. He was a little bitty dude, and he just grabbed that whole grape, and it was a big one of those big ones, like those ladyfinger ones. They kind of just So it's a little known fact. People choke on grapes quite a bit, and animals are no different. And he started choking. So my wife has these de-chokers around the house because I have a condition where I choke sometimes on food. And so it's like my dad has it and my grandfather has, it's like a hereditary thing. And so my wife's got them throughout the house. And so you like literally have to like pull it and you can pull something out of your throat.
Along with your uvula.
Huh?
Along with the uvula and a couple of teeth.
So he started choking and he just, and then he was foaming at the mouth and he was really sick. It was crazy, man. And so like Anthony had to hold him and I had to like use the de-choker on him. And then to make sure he was okay, we took him to the emergency vet, and the emergency vet was like, "We don't look at pigs." And I'm not gonna lie, I was really forceful, and I started being really assertive, and I just said, "You're gonna look at this pig because he's not gonna die." And I go back to my wife and tell her that this pig died. She couldn't even get herself to go with us. She was so hysterical. So she just kept calling me, but she didn't want to be there in case something happened, in case he, whatever. She was just like, I can't do it. And so she was at the house crying. And she's seen so many of her pets pass away. So it's not, over the years, luckily not with us, but I mean, and so the guy said, okay, he was first she argued with me. And then this guy came out and just grabbed him and said, I'll take a look at him. And I went with him and we sat there and he checked his vitals, did everything. And it turned out he was okay. He was choking and the deep choker had cut his mouth. So when we saw the blood, we thought my wife flipped out, So now she's super attached to that pig. And so is Anthony. And I guess me too, and it's like, I feed him apples and stuff. And he didn't grow real big. Like they said he was going to get like 200 pounds or some crap. And I was looking at that dude and I just had this feeling. I was like, no, he's not. I just couldn't see it. So I think he's about 80 pounds, maybe, but he's not humongous. And I think he's pretty much done. He's not really getting any bigger. He hasn't grown in months. He's just kind of there. He eats a lot. He's a very healthy pig. He eats a ton.
Is he housebroke?
Yeah, he goes on pee pads. He poops and pees in one corner.
Wow.
He's a lot cleaner than than the dogs. Well, than one of our dogs. Most of the dogs they're okay. Banjo, Tony's little dog, if he gets loose, he likes to lift his leg up and mark his territory. So you got to watch him. But for the most part, there's one dog. I'm not gonna put her on the spot, but she still loves to. If you don't let her out, she's just going to be like, well, here we go. That's what's happening. And so she's only a year old, though. She's a little over a year. So I cut her some slack, but I get aggravated with her, man. I'm just like, come on now. But other than that, and then the ferrets, like they will poop if they're out running around. And unfortunately, the rabbits, they're wonderful animals.
Rabbits.
But they poop as they hop. They leave like a trail of poop. But they're just little round balls that look like cereal.
Like they look like
you
raisins.
Can literally pick them up, and they're not even raisins. They're just perfectly round little balls, and it looks like some kind of like Cocoa Puffs or something, dude. Like you could put it in milk, and you would think it was Cocoa Puffs. And believe me, in that house, I thought about tricking somebody that pissed me off. I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat some rabbit poop, but I didn't. I thought better of it, but it was Tony. I was going to do it to you, Tony. I was going to get you. I was like, man, kind of pissed me off. Yeah, see, Anthony says he looked like Cocoa Puffs. So Tony kind of aggravated me. Mushu, we call him, for those who don't know. And
did he get that name himself, or was that something from school?
now I don't know. I can't, I don't remember how he got
The first
that name.
time I heard his nickname, I was wondering, like, is that something they called him in high school, and he just kept it as a, you're not going to make me crazy with your nonsense, or ever since the first time I heard it on your show, however long ago, I've been wondering about that. Should ask him.
Well, you know what's crazy though is he got picked on like in middle school a little bit, not real bad, but he had a few bullies, and his dad was like one of my best friends, and his mom and his dad were telling me if I could coach him, and so I didn't have time at that point. But one of my coaches, who was a Muay Thai coach, I had him, who my friend was going to. So I told my friend, I said, take him with you, because they didn't get along. But I said, you got to take him with you so you get him something to do. So he took jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai for about 3 years. So he is actually really, I'm not joking, Tony can actually whip someone's ass. And I'm not kidding. I mean, and he was further along than Anthony, but then Anthony got into boxing. He had a professional former WBC champion who coached him. And then he had kickboxing, and then he took jiu-jitsu too. And eventually he kind of caught up, but because he kept going and Tony had to work all the time, and then he just was not interested in doing it on his days off. So he was just like, Anthony kept going. And so they're about even now, but they're both pretty skilled. I've seen them take down much bigger opponents, just, sparring, doing things. And I was really surprised at how far along they came. But Tony played football in high school. He started playing football as a sophomore, and he was a receiver. And he didn't become one of the most popular cool kids or whatever, but playing football every year, I think, gave him a little bit of an edge. So that, yeah, I mean, he got, so he became, he had like when he went to prom, he had a bunch of friends and stuff, and he was, not the nerd anymore. He wasn't a dork. Let's put it that way.
I feel sorry for people that don't know how to fight. It's like, what you expect the police are going to be there to. It's like, God, I don't get it.
Or they'll think that a gun's going to save them, and it's like, you may not have that gun. I mean, I watched a video the other day where a guy literally shot 16 times and missed a guy 2 feet away. And then the dude closed the distance and basically choked him unconscious, and then began to kick him in the head and gave him brain damage. And I'm like, first of all, you didn't know how to shoot the gun correct. Well, the guy was moving around, but still, I mean, it's not a done deal that just because you have a weapon, you're going to be able to use it. I mean,
if you're going to carry something like that, you've got to practice. You got to train. You got to know how to use it, and you've got to know how to keep it, because most cops get shot with their own gun.
That's absolutely correct. And most people get stabbed with their own knife, and they think that, oh, I got a gun or a knife, that's gonna protect me. No, not really. So what we got here, we got 280 people in the chat, and I'm trying to get it up to about 300 so people don't have to go back and re-listen or whatever. So what we end up having is some issues deciding whether I should take this show on Saturday to Rumble. But I'm going to wait until we get as many people as we can in the chat and then pose that question. And once I pose that question, I'm sure that there'll be a lot of people that'll be messaging me. And if you're interested in that, because Rumble, it's really easy to use. I went to the platform the other day and was just, perusing it, whatever. And there was a lot of cool stuff on there. And I realized too, it's such a more open platform. And if you really want to dive deep into some of these subjects and be able to go into the darker, deeper part of the water, it's, getting out into the deep water, you're going to have to,
they're
whatever.
not concerned if you mention conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
better known as spoiler alerts.
The truth.
But well, that too. But if, like, for example, the few shows that I've had kicked off of other platforms, they're still on Rumble, so
Yeah.
it's
See.
a good deal.
Yeah. Rumble is going to be our future. I think when it comes to certain nights, I think
Mhm.
Saturday is just going to become Rumble. I don't know how much more we're going to do YouTube on this. I think we're just going to move it over. I think that's probably going to be the way because we can talk about so much more and get more involved. When I talked about the moon landing,
Mhm.
I got
That's
demonetized.
hmm.
So, yeah,
You
and then
mean
that show
you
was
mean the
held for
idea that
review or whatever.
maybe we didn't land on the moon in 1969? That kind of thing?
Yeah, and then maybe they just when they were talking on a telephone, maybe that didn't really happen the way they said it did. And then now what's funny to me is some guy was arguing with me the other day about Stanley Kubrick, and he's like, Kubrick admitted that was a fake video he made about the fake video that he made. And I was like, dude, when you really stop and think about how stupid that sounds, like Kubrick decides right before he dies that he's gonna say that he faked it and that he was the one responsible for the film, right? He's going to say that. And then he's going to switch it up and go, oh, no, that right there was just me basically trolling and just saying that just to be saying that. I mean, it was crazy. Like, and the amount of the mental gymnastics that people have to, like, they go through to, like, I can't believe it's crazy. There have been like Buzz Aldrin,
Yes.
like he's said it like at least twice, like and there are multiple people who've claimed that he said it in private. Like he was like, "This didn't happen. We never went there."
And then he punches out the writer that mentions it.
Yeah, and everybody's just like, "Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here." Geez, man, I don't know. There's some
The
sort of level of disconnect there, that I just don't understand.
It does make you wonder what's going on with so many people. The Mandela effect is just a little too prominent in some places. Like me and my brother remembering watching Kennedy get shot on the news as it happened. And we talked about it for years, except it was never on TV
Mm-hmm.
until 75, was it? And yet me and my brother were both like, but we saw it. And I have talked to dozens of other people who say they saw it as well. And yet the official record, which y'all know what that is, says no, it wasn't telecast until 1974 or 5. I remember hearing about Nelson Mandela dying in prison.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And then he gets out of prison, and my first thought was, oh, that's not him. They've thrown in a ringer to try to do something with his organization, but then it sure heck looked like him. And there have been
We're having 18 episodes.
numerous occurrences like this where people remember seeing something, remember reading it, hearing it, and then they say, "Oh no, that never happened." And it's the fruit of the loom, their little emblem.
The looms. Yeah, it's
They swear it never had the little basket thing. It's like,
yeah.
what was I seeing for however many years I wore their crap?
The fruit of the loom is a weird one. That's like, to me, that one's almost like a psyop,
Yeah.
like the monocle on the Monopoly guy. I mean, there's
Mhm.
so many of them. Here's a weird thing. I have dual memories. Now, that's something that I really dove deep into a couple years ago, was the dual memories. I interviewed 30, 40 people. And multiple colleagues of mine did the same thing. And we all talked about it and compared notes. And there were people that they had interviewed, that I had interviewed, and they were claiming that they had dual memories. It's unbelievable. One of the prominent ones was the Tiananmen Square.
The guy get
My
run over.
brother remembers that the guy getting run over, and then I remember him that the tank's going around him.
Uh-huh.
But then we compared notes, and one of our cousins started talking, and when he described the guy getting run over, I was like, wait a minute, I remember that. And I remember vividly, like it was on TV and everybody was in shock. And then they scrubbed it, and then it became he went around him, and I'm like, wait a minute, how do I remember both though? And then my brother said the same thing. He remembers both. So I don't know, man. Like it was weird. He remembered it one way, I remembered it the other, but then we started talking about it, and we both remembered both parts, which you could say maybe the idea was planted after we talked about it, but no, dude, I started thinking about it and racking my brain, and I was like, wait a minute, I do remember that. And then I have like dual memories of other events, like just nothing, not so much like, you know, in the public stuff or whatever, but just like events that happened to me and my friends. One of my friends remembers me going over a median and hitting another car off of a road here off of Parmer, and he says, dude, and then the police came, blah blah blah, they gave you a ticket. And I was like, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. And in fact, in my memory, he wasn't there. And then two of my other friends were with me, and the guy, I didn't jump the median, the other guy jumped the median, and he hit the side of my truck. And I had a grill guard, so all it did was really he hit the side, a little bit dent in the side, and he hit the grill guard, and that grill guard just tore his car up. So it was a weird thing. And what's even more weird is that I had two accidents on that same road, about a mile apart from each other and about 4 years apart. So the other one was I rear-ended someone because the lady in front of him slammed on her brakes because the lady in front of her, the light changed to yellow, and instead of driving through it, she just screeches to a halt on the yellow light, and everybody was like, boom, boom, boom. So I hit a guy, but that had nothing to do with this. This was actually, you know, but then when I started thinking about it, you know, and my one friend said that he remembers me going up on the median. And so I called him one day and I said, hey, Brian, tell me what you remember about that. And he started telling me, and he goes, dude, I remember it very vividly. And I said, dude, you know what? That's weird because I was thinking about it the other day and I remember that, but I never got a ticket. And the other two people, one of them being my brother and then another friend of ours who's now deceased, but they were there. And for years we talked about that, how he remembered it some other way. And it's funny because he was not in the vehicle. It was our friend Willie, who's now passed away. But Willie was like, I was there. And how does Brian have a memory of that? Like, it was really weird. And I just chalk it up to us having done so many hallucinogens way back that maybe it all just came together and it gave us some kind of an ability to remember that, work through the matrix. I don't know. It's a very bizarre thing, but the weirdest Mandela effect I've ever, and I've talked about it on the show, was when my friend, and I'm not even going to say his name, my friend's name starts with a J. His father passed away and he's living in California now. I have tried to work up the courage to talk to him about this because there were 6 of us that remember this. Like, that's a lot of people to remember. Going to the memorial for his dad. I knew his dad for a long time, at least 20 years. And when we went there, he was a decorated war veteran. And I remember going and looking at him and seeing like the picture of him. I remember the medals. He had 2 of them. I remember everything about it. And it was like, and then that night we all went and had a drink at my friend's bar. My friend owns a few of my friends own bars. And we went to one of them and it was a very somber, and we talked and my friend was very poignant, and very matter of fact. He's a very pragmatic guy, but he had to stay in Austin for a few days and get all of his affairs in order. And then like 2 years go by and he announces that he's coming to Austin because his dad had passed away. And so I was like, what? Like, I couldn't believe that. So I called up my friend Pete, who lives up in Colorado. He's actually been on the show before talking about what happened in that house we lived in. And I called Pete and I said, dude, something's wrong here. And I called Squid. I mean, they were all there. Like, this is not, my brother, Scorpion Squid, my friend Jack, my friend Willie, who's now passed away. And then, of course, Pete, we were all there. And I was like, what is going on here? These are people that you can talk to, that you can literally ask. I mean, some of them are on my Facebook. I mean, it's something that I have not been able to figure out. And he came to Austin, and they had a funeral for his dad, and I couldn't make it. And I'm thinking, does anybody else think this is really Twilight Zone-ish? Because so I called everybody and I was like, am I tripping, or did we have this 2 years ago for his dad? And everybody was like, yeah. And so one of our friends who owns a bar here, my friend one of his stories is in my book. Like, he went to both. Dude, I'm telling you, man. And later on, when we talked about it, about another year goes by, and I asked him, I was at his bar, and he has really good food there. So I was in there eating a turkey leg, and I said, hey, you went to this memorial. What was it like? And he goes, now looking back, he's like, they just blended together. I can't tell you the difference between one or the other. It was like, and he goes, I don't know how to explain it. So, you can't, when people are really in tune, I think really, really in tune, like a lot of our listeners are very, very in tune with this kind of stuff. They catch it. They notice it. So I end up getting like drawer full of just, or files full of Mandela effects, because our listeners are smart. They see it. So I was talking to a guy at the gym the other day who claims that, and this is weird, and his girlfriend backed him up. She was right there. They had a child out of wedlock, which was a big deal for their family. And he said, it was a big deal. They made a big, big deal out of it, whatever. He's like, and he goes, you're not going to believe this, but that was like this. We both have this memory of our family having this big conflagration over having a child out of wedlock. And then he goes, but that's not what happened. He's like, even though we both remember it that way, he goes, my mother, her mother, they don't remember it that way, because we got married, like we ran off and got married like 2 days after we found out she was pregnant. So they never really knew. They suspected it. He's like, but we both remember having like this big argument with like a moment in time where that happened. And you wouldn't believe how many people that happens to. And then what they do is they just rationalize it and they just put it out of their head because, people got a job to do. I was talking to a guy who works at HEB. He's a cashier. And we were in line, and Anthony had the Paranormal Roundtable hat on. And Tony was wearing the faded shirt. We were all in there, talking or whatever. And my wife was talking to somebody out of the bag person. And the guy that was checking us out, he's like, what is that? What is that paranormal, whatever? And I was like, I'm glad you asked. I have a card here, check it out. So, it's okay. So his story is really weird. I'll call him Monty because that's his name. But Monty gave me a story, and he says, dude, and his mother is from the West Indies. And so, she believes in a lot of weird stuff, like, and so when we were talking, he told me, he says, look, man, he goes, and he's just a kid. To me, he's a kid. He's like 22, 23. And they actually pay pretty well at HEB, even for like just checking. It's like $23 an hour.
Everybody I know at HEB, they love the job.
My nephew works there, one of them.
It's almost as good as working at Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A pays well too for a chicken. Yeah.
The kids, I'll talk to them every once in a while. We eat there every Friday, and I'll ask them, what's it like working here? Do you like it? They're like, oh, this is the best job I've ever had. They're all happy to be there. They learn, and it only takes like 2 minutes to get through a line of 100 people. So,
well, they also do like these programs for them where they put them through school.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a school partnership
Yeah.
program. If you want to get a degree, like they help you. HEB has the same thing. Like
Mhm.
they're very good with that, you know.
That's why Texas is so great.
Texas has no state tax, and
Yeah.
we're doing very well. I mean, we really
From
don't
what I
need the rest of the country, to tell you the truth.
from what I understand, if not another dime went into the treasury up in Austin, where y'all are, for 4 years, Texas would still be afloat. Unlike California, who, well,
They're living paycheck to paycheck. I mean,
they're actually they're very much behind on their paychecks. If it wasn't for that bailout that they've gotten every year, it
and
doesn't
our
have to.
economy is catching up to theirs every year. They're losing industry and they're
Mhm.
losing everything.
Well, all the
And they were like,
companies
we're the
are.
6th largest economy. We're the 8th largest economy. We're the 9th largest economy. And they keep, and some of them are still behind saying that
Yeah.
they're the 6th largest. And I'm like, no, go look, go pay attention. We've almost pretty much surpassed you
Yeah.
with not even as many people.
Mhm.
But it's crazy. Like, so this guy, he's working at HEB, and he tells me this very profound, like, Mandela effect that happened to him. And he messaged me, and he says, hey, if you got a chance to talk, whatever. And he actually works out at one. I work out at, well, 3 different gyms, but 2 in particular. And he works out up there. So he met me up there. And so while I was doing my workout, we were kind of talking, and so I pressed for time. And I said, look, if you want to hit me at the gym. So he showed up. One of the girls that works here, she had a weird Mandela effect story. So we all kind of talked about it. And he told me the weird stuff, man, like just really weird stuff. Like there was an incident that happened there at the store, and nobody could agree on the way it happened. Like half the people said that it happened like this. And it was something I can't really talk about because it was going to get legal. But what he told me, yeah, and once he told me the story, I was like, I can't really talk about that on the show because it's still like an open, whatever. There's a lawsuit. And so he told me something, and he said that when I told them what I saw, they thought I was lying. He goes, but I tell you right now, when they replayed it on the camera, he goes, it was the other 4 people that were there. There was like 3 of us and 4 of them. Majority rules, right? He goes, but the camera showed what we said was correct. The difference, though, was one of those other 3 people was a manager, and then the person that it happened to, weird, that was his friend. That person confided in him that he remembered it both ways. So he was telling me, he's like, man, it's such a weird thing. Like, because he asked me about the Mandela effect, and I told him, go to listen. We have an episode just about that. So it blows my mind. And this guy was just like, interested in the show and everything. And then he just messaged me out of the blue and said, hey, I met you at the HEB, which I've met a few different people at like Sprouts and different grocery stores I go to. I just had the card out. And sure enough, man, I mean, the guy was like, yeah, this is weird, man. I had this dual memory. And there's a lot of people who do, man. Finally, somebody give me their cult dues. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. I didn't think anybody else was going to. Just going to make me poor. I see how it is.
It makes me kind of reference in my mind people that are having these memories that don't add up. I hear a lot of stories from people whenever I ask for UFO stories and things, and somebody will say that they will get a feeling that they need to go outside and look up. And one of them has had these so often that he grabs his camera, turns it on as he's walking out, and he just starts filming the sky because he knows he's going to see something and he's going to catch it on film. This would suppose that aliens are reading our minds, which is pretty darn scary. My mind is a scary place to be. And then a lot of people will say that when they're filming a UFO, they'll look at it, they'll see it, it's right there, they can see it, it's a flying saucer, it looks like a flying saucer. They bring the camera up and it disappears. So they bring the camera back down and it reappears. And they're not looking at it on the camera, they're looking at it with the naked eye, and yet it's gone. Now, how can something thousands of feet or even several miles away know that you're aiming a camera at them unless they are in contact with our minds. Some alien somewhere say, "Oh, that guy's about to take a picture of us. Move," or put it on the cloaking device. So if an alien could do that, if they can see what's going on inside our mind, why couldn't they add things in there? Hey, let's make all these people think they saw Kennedy getting shot, and we'll see how it affects the world. See how it affects their lives. See if the people that didn't see him get shot, the people that did see him get shot, and see which of these two timelines is preferable. And then it's like, okay, we like this timeline, make the other one go away.
Mm-hmm.
The more I think about things like that, the more I want to stop thinking. Oh, and before anybody starts with the tinfoil hats, MIT did a study using tinfoil hats to see if they would actually interfere with any kind of messages or rays going into a person's brain, and they have actually the opposite effect. They enhance any kind of a signal going into your brain. The thought was it was going to be like a Faraday cage, but the only way that would be usable is you'd have to wrap your entire body. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's amazing that somebody at MIT said, "Hey, we got to look into this."
And the tinfoil hat thing. I mean, yeah, I would think that would actually enhance it.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
I
they
would
found.
think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what I'm going to do next time I think I'm being contacted by aliens. I guess just live with it.
So Miguel says one of my favorite episodes was the one with the guy in prison during the day. Yep. And he slept in a different world as a young red-haired man. Well, he's not a boy, but red-haired man. But that is a weird story. That guy gave that story to a friend of mine who was in prison for years. And then I was able to actually talk to that guy, to correspond with him. And that is a crazy story.
Mm.
To me, that just shows the weirdness of our world. We have no idea what the hell we're dealing with. This guy slept 12 hours a day, like straight up every night. And so during the day, he was a prisoner, but then he would go to sleep at night. And at night, he would live another life. He was a man that was free. Now, some people say, well, that's wishful thinking. But I know the guy who was actually on, I'm not going to say the name of the TV show, but he was on a TV show. This guy that's a friend of mine. And it was a pretty popular show back in like the early 2000s or whatever. And he was featured on that show for being a very violent person. And I grew up with this dude's one of my friends from way back. And he said, hey, man, I got a guy that was my cellmate, because they were in gangs. And so they divided them up or whatever. And he said, so I ended up on this cell block with these people I didn't know. And they divided them up, and so this was a Hispanic guy that told me this, but he ended up with a black cellmate. And part of it was for them to not let them clump together and segregate. But it worked out for him because him and that guy became cellmates for like 2 years or something like that. And in fact, if I remember correctly, and to rehash that story, the guy during the day was like a prisoner, and then he would go to bed at night, and then he would wake up. And he said this dude always missed breakfast, which is just, you get so little calories in prison. It's an odd thing that he would sleep through breakfast. He would go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, and then he would wake up at 9 and miss breakfast every morning. And he said, I thought it was odd, that this guy did that. And I asked him one day, I said, what is it? Why do you miss breakfast? And he says, look, he goes, I have a journal. He goes, and it's a rule. You don't touch my stuff. I don't touch yours, but read it if you're interested. And so my friend said for 6 months, he just thought the guy was odd. And then he ended up reading his journal, and he was like, oh my gosh, this dude, he's documenting everything that he does in his other life. And then He said that it was weird. The guy goes, he lays down, goes to bed at 9 o'clock, and it was like he was out. He's like, and then 9 a.m., he just sits up, and then he starts his day. And he said that he was living another life. Literally, he was another person in a parallel world. In this other reality of Earth, he didn't exist. There was no, because he tried looking himself up, and he has memories. And he said that, in his other life, he would tell them, "Look, I'm a black man in prison," and they thought he was crazy. So his girlfriend, he has a girlfriend on the other side. She was like, she took him to a shrink, and they did all these tests, and they found that when he was asleep, his brain was. This is a little bit. I guess this is an update to that story. I'll tell you. They found out that his brain was still functioning, like it was working. Like your brain shuts down certain parts, and then there's activity in other parts, kind of like and there's different theories as to what it does. Like it's kind of cleaning itself out of the fragments of memory that you don't need. Like today I drove by, saw a blue or a green car, and whatever. You don't need all that. So your brain's just kind of like, whatever, processing it like a computer, right? Which to me lends more credence to the idea that we're in some sort of matrix. But he said that they took him to a specialist, and they hooked up all this crap to his brain. This is what he told my friend. And he said what they found was that the brain activity was just like it was functioning. And there were parts of the brain that should have been shut down while he slept, and they were very active. And to the point where they didn't understand how he was even asleep. So then you get this weird, like, whatever. So on the other side, he's free, but he lives a very mundane life on the other side. And he said it's not much more exciting than being, it's not like on the other side he was like some amazing person. Over there on that side, I'm a singer, songwriter that, is hitting the charts. No, nothing like that. He's just a guy that works as IT. That's it. He had a job doing computer coding or something, and
such a dull
did
job.
IT. Huh?
Such a dull job.
Yeah, it was just a dull, like kind of just mundane thing he did every, day in and day out. And then he would go home and go to sleep, and he would be this prisoner. And they were sharing memories. Whatever. It was like two lives, but I don't know. It was such a weird story when it was laid on me. I kind of didn't believe it at first until I actually talked to the guy, and I was like, I want to talk to this dude, man. But I don't know. It's a really weird thing. And I know I would never have been able to speak to this individual if it wasn't for my friend. And we had to be kind of secretive about it because he didn't want them because he was eventually going to get released from prison, and he didn't want it to ruin his chances of getting out, because they're like, oh, this guy's crazy. We need to put him in another facility or something, But he got to trust my friend, and my friend's like, look, dude, I read it. I read his journal, every bit of what he's saying. He wrote it down, and he had been writing it down for years. And it was like daily. Like every day he would wake up from 9 to 10 a.m. He would just write down everything that was done and said the day before. And he was like, he wrote really fast too. And he said, dude, it was like his handwriting was immaculate. And he asked him how long this had been going on. And if I remember correctly, he said that it had been happening since he was young. Like this is even before he went to prison. So.
It kind of sounds like a book that I remember reading a long time ago. And I think it was called Emperor of the Universe or something like that. This guy was in prison, but he would kind of go into a coma, and he would, venture all over the universe doing things.
Wow.
And meanwhile, his body is sitting in a cell. It was an old story. I think it was from back in the 30s or 40s, but it's one of these like, it's been a while, and I've read about 1 million books since then, and I'm not even too sure if that was the name of the title, but it does sound like the story. I'm wondering, did the guy finally get out?
Yeah, the guy that I talked to, whatever, he got out of prison. I think I don't remember on the story how we were concealing his identity or whatever, but like he was really adamant that we didn't say too
Yeah.
much, but I said what I had to say.
It
But he got out last year, or I think it was last year, like maybe late last year.
sounds like that
So,
would make a really interesting book.
and the guy lives here in Texas. He
Even
was here in
better.
prison in Texas, and he lives well, it doesn't matter. He lives out in West Texas, but
Hmm.
he's an African American dude, and
West Texas, the town, or West Texas, the area?
the area, I'm sure. But he, when I spoke to him last, it was just like a quick little, communication, and he said to this day, and that was in when was that? That was in February. So when I actually, just messaged him if there was anything new or whatever, and that's funny that somebody mentioned that because I did talk to him a few months ago, and he said that still happening. His life is still that way.
Man,
so
I wonder. He must eat in this other life, and I wonder if that is why he didn't need breakfast because he was getting food elsewhere.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. That I believe, if I remember correctly, and people may correct me about this because once I tell the story, I have to like focus on memorizing the others. But one of the things that I remember him saying was something like that. Like he only ate like once over on the other side and once on this side or something. I don't know, but you would think that it wouldn't be. You'd be tired.
Mm-hmm.
If your
he's
mind
awake,
is working, yeah,
he's literally awake 24 hours a day.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's just a weird thing. I don't know.
There are certain things that you cannot do, and staying awake for a long time is one of them. The sleep experiments that they did in Russia, and I do believe they did some over here too, and it was an enormous mess after just a couple of days.
Destroys people's brains.
It was one of the Nazis' favorite toys was to keep a person awake for 2-3 days, and amongst other things. But
yeah, and those the experiments that I read were Russia. They were Russian.
Well, they did them in Russia, but the CIA, it's like, well, if they're doing it, we got to do it. So
they got to do it too. If the Nazis and the communists are doing it, it's got to be good. Let's go. Let's see how bad it is. Let's just all do something that's really not worth a crap. I mean, that's kind of how it goes.
They gave Tusco the elephant LSD, so why wouldn't they keep a couple of prisoners awake for a month or two?
It always bothered me that Edison killed that elephant. I can't stand Edison. I think Edison was a
jerk.
Piece of crap.
He made his money by breaking other people's patents. A guy named Swan invented the light bulb. Edison just got to the patent office first. Because Swan, he's like, well, I've been working on this thing for months. I'm going to take a nap. And so, but yeah, Edison was not a nice person. And look at the nonsense he did to Tesla. Told him he'd pay him a bunch of money if he could fix that motor. Tesla fixed it, made it twice as good. And then Edison is like, well, I'm not going to give you the money. He was not in the movie, The Prestige, where the magician goes to Nikola Tesla wanting a magic box. If you've ever seen it, it was a wild movie. David Bowie plays Nikola Tesla. And in the end, as this guy shows up at Tesla's building, and there's these two suspicious looking people that have shown up to burn him out of house and home. Well, those were actually Edison's stooges. That's what he did. If you were making a movie and you didn't pay Edison royalties for using a camera, he would burn your studio down. So Edison,
wow, nice guy.
Yeah, he thought because he was such a elitist that the world owed him things. Whereas Tesla, he was like, well, I just want to make the world a better place. And he did too. Alternating current, but such a difference in outlook. So, but yeah, Edison was not a nice person.
Oh yeah, I can't stand him. There's so many people that they look at and they put them up on pedestals and they revere them in our history. Einstein's another one. Oh look, Liberty said Edison was a true a-hole. Exactly. There you go. He was exactly. Thank you, Liberty, for backing us up on that because he sure was. But I can tell you right now, man, there's certain people that I think get way too much credit, and I think that they don't deserve it, and it's just not correct.
Should I mention John Rockefeller? Are we doing bad things to your show?
Probably. I don't care though. At this point, it's like I'm not going to sit up here and just pretend like things aren't the way they are because they are. I mean, you know, the Saturday show. We never get as many people on the Saturday show. We get a few hundred, but not like we do on the other shows, because we talk about the alien agenda, and there's this element to our listeners that they don't want to hear about this stuff because it's too, you know. And I had one of them just flat out. He messaged me a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, "I refuse to listen to the talk of the Anunnaki because this one idiot has gone around saying that we worship the Anunnaki," which is maybe he does, and I kind of think he does because he doesn't know the truth. And so, yeah, the Anunnaki thing. And I said, look, y'all keep saying that I'm saying that we all, I suppose it is a theory, you know, as a pot to postulate on. And now this idiot took it and ran with it, this fundamentalist whack job. And now, now I got this whole group of people who won't watch the Saturday show because they think that that's what we're talking about every Saturday.
It's funny how you can have 100 people and you tell them the exact same thing, all 100, something simple too. And you'll have like 99 different definitions of what you said. It's kind of like witnesses at a crime. They'll come up with all kinds of strange. The guy driving the limousine turned around and shot Kennedy. Like,
the Zapruder?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Zapruder. And then it's like this little computer generated little, it's just not even good either. It's like pixelated and bad. Yeah. He turns around and shoots the guy. And you're like, come on, man.
That was about the dumbest thing that any Secret Service guy could do. But, you know, they were all out drinking the night before. That's why they all just stood there like, huh? President's been shot, huh? I got a headache. I'm going to throw up. That's Secret Service doing their job for you.
My brother's friend was determined to convince me the Zapruder film was real, and he was a nice guy.
Oh, and he was it the Zapruder film or was it the other one? Because Zapruder was the clothing salesman that was standing up on a cement block filming. He was the one that caught Kennedy going that direction from a bullet hitting him here. As opposed to, because there were 2 or 3 films, we just don't get to see them.
Yeah, I think it was I thought it was Zapruder that he turned around and did. I don't know. Anyway,
no, Zapruder was shooting from he was almost at the grassy knoll, and he was standing up on a cement structure, and his secretary was holding him by the belt because he felt dizzy standing up. He was not a healthy man, and he was just standing there with the camera filming, and so he caught from Conley's side of the car. The guy that caught the driver, I don't know who that was.
So Chris, this is Max. This is Chris. Chris co-hosts with me on a Saturday night. This is Max Hawthorne, author.
Pleasure.
Unruly children will be used for bait.
Yeah, it helps keeps the nieces and nephews in line. You know what I'm saying?
I take it you must do a little bit of fishing.
Oh.
The
I don't know where you got that idea from.
Like I maybe read once or twice.
I'm in a padded cell. You know.
No, it does look like it. Oh well.
Ugh.
Had to eat something here. So let me get started. Max, you've been on the show before.
Yes, I think
Of
once.
course, we didn't. We weren't using StreamYard. We were using regular. And you were talking.
Mhm.
Just to introduce Max Hawthorne, you're a paleo fiction writer.
Yes, among other things.
And Liberty says, Max, your books rock. So Liberty is a supporter of PRT, and he's a really good guy. I met him at my second. Well, I think it was at both of my conferences. So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's get started talking about some of the weird stuff that's been happening.
Okay. Well, let's see. I enjoy quiet evenings, moonlit walks, flowers. Sometimes it depends on if the girl's really nice or not.
How did your wife feel about that?
Well, she's in the other room actually watching Jumanji: The Next Level with my daughter, who's recovering from a cold. So I think I'm okay. She won't be watching.
That was a good flick.
Yes, but I got. Originally I went to college in Philadelphia. I majored in film and animation with a lot of science minors and such. I was supposed to go to veterinary school. I gave that up because of the fact that it was half the money you make from the guy I was working for in New York was from killing animals, and I could not stomach it. To be perfectly frank, it was horrible. So I gave that up, did a few different things, including a fitness product. I was even on QVC at one point. And then eventually back in 2004, I decided to start teaching myself how to write. My first published book was in 2013. 2014 was when my Cronus Rising series started. And I've been doing the Cronus Rising series for the better part of a decade. I think there's 7 books out in the series right now. It's kind of like Jaws meets Jurassic Park. Thank you, Maynard. Which is actually funny. It's funny because back in 2014, when the first book came out, that hashtag Jaws meets Jurassic Park was actually created referencing Cronus Rising. But so yeah, there's like 7 books in the series. I've also done a children's book called I Want a Tyrannosaurus for Christmas, which is adorable. Yeah, I love that book. It is so cute. And it has a really good anti-bullying message, which I think a lot of people should, check out. I've also done a Christmas horror thriller called The Sleigh, Sleigh, not Slay, although it might as well be. And the last year and change, I have been down the rabbit hole because I had an encounter with an extraterrestrial, which I got on film, infrared film to be exact, and have, after that, blew my mind. Everything kind of changed. And so now it's like I've ended up learning more and more and researching more and more and encountering more and more. And it's almost as if like my life has become the equivalent of the science fiction I write about, which is a privilege and then some. And it's great because now I have all this information that I get to share with the public in bits and pieces, so it's not too much too fast. And, I'm doing a series of documentaries. The powers that be don't seem very happy with my website. It has been systematically attacked, almost destroyed, blocked, dismantled, you name it, it's happened. I've been on shows where the site crashed coincidentally for the entire length of the show, plus 15 minutes. I've had recordings. Thank you, Liberty. I've been doing recordings with people and the power went out in the house. 6 minutes later, it came back on. The whole development started trying to reach out to the guy boom, the whole development went down for 3 hours. It just seems like too much of a coincidence that too much stuff is happening. So, but we keep going. You know what I'm saying? We shall overcome, as the man says.
So what exactly? Because you were on the show, I think it's probably been a while now, maybe a couple of years or something.
That's my daughter's mug, by the way. But what she doesn't know won't kill me. Yes, I'm sorry. I think it's probably been about 2 years. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think it was like several months later when all of this started with you. Mm-hmm. You've already had a few weird things, but I mean not like this, And some of the things you had that you had told me about. Mm-hmm. you were not ready to share with the public or the audience, and so we didn't talk. Me and you talked, or you and I talked, but not the public. We didn't talk about it in public. But what's going on now, Max? It's happening. Like, can you divulge what's going on?
Well, the stuff that you and I probably talked about, which included something I encountered in a cemetery back when I was 19, which is a long time ago. That's 40 years ago now. Okay. Yes, I'm a little up there in the years and stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Gee, that sounds really creepy.
Yeah, well, you know, little Gabby Hayes coming at you know what I'm saying? Maybe a little Walter Brennan thrown in. I'm not sure. But yeah, I put that incident and the incident with the fairy or fae or whatever that creature in the book Monsters and Marine Mysteries. But those were two diametrically opposed or different experiences, one of which was absolutely terrifying and you were running for your life from like death itself, and the other one was just seeing something that's impossible, that should not exist, shouldn't be here, and finding out that it was real and you're staring at it, you and your child and everything through the windshield. But yeah, that stuff happened. I mean, I can get into details or we can move on to the current stuff, whichever you like. I'm happy there and comfortable talking about any of it, I guess, at this point.
Whatever you want to talk about. If you want to talk about the alien presence,
Sure.
Yes.
Which to me, UAP is unidentified alien presence. I don't call it aerial phenomena because that's just one aspect of the whole thing.
If you've seen an alien, that's more than I've ever seen. Well, except the guys from Mexico, but
Now, who's to say a fairy isn't an alien? I've seen two of them. I don't know what they are.
They are interdimensional beings, basically. They come through portals. They come in assorted sizes. I have footage of them ranging from about this tall to some that are about the size of a person. It varies. And, they don't look like Tinkerbell. Okay. I mean, they're able to adapt their appearance to, look like when the one that we saw, my daughter and I, when she was 7. So this is 7 years ago. When it was on the ground, it was injured. It hit a power line, or maybe an owl attacked it, or it got hit by a car. I don't know. But, and when it looked up at me and it was pushing itself upright, and it wasn't big. I mean, its head was about the size of an apple, but it was pretty unpleasant looking. And I mean, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And now that probably I wouldn't feel that way after all the things that I've seen. But it was like, it reminded me of the homunculus from the old Sinbad movie. The dark gray skin and the black eyes and black mouth. And it was like kind of like that. And had this bristly stuff behind its head, almost like a lion's mane, but it was like bristly. And yeah, but when it jumped up in the air and its wings came out, and it was, because I was like, what the HELL is that? And my daughter pointed at it and she was like, it's a fairy, Daddy, it's a fairy. Like it was like completely different. Its body was translucent and silvery and white and kind of very pretty, and the wings were shimmering. I mean, the edges were like lit up, I think, from the headlights, because it was nighttime and it was like 20 feet from my headlights, but and it was hovering there, and I think it made itself more attractive, honestly, because it realized there was a child there and it didn't want to frighten the child, and that kind of thing. But and my daughter was like, it's a fairy, Daddy, it's a fairy. She pointed right at it, and then it went whoosh over the roof and it was gone. But this was not a small creature. Its wingspan was 3 to 4 feet, on a guess. So, no Tinkerbell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I've talked about mine on the show, and once I was in a reformatory when I was young. I was, the place I was at was a sort of like a halfway house mixed with jail. It's just the best way to put it. And we had a little more freedom than being in TYC, because I had behaved where I was at before. So they put me in this place. And there were problems there too, but it was cool because that place, like on the weekend, like on Saturday night, you could actually order food, and you had like 3 choices, which was cool. There was this place that delivered pizza, and another one that delivered I forgot what it was, something else. It was sandwiches. And then there was another place that delivered Asian food. Not that matters, but it was cool that you got that little bit of privilege, which you did not have in TYC. So being in there was actually much better. And I kind of endeared myself to the techs and the guards, and there was a nurse that was there at all times, because some of the people there had to take medication. I didn't, but some of the people, and there, it was divided into two parts. One was called Spring Hill East and one was Spring Hill West, and I was on the one where you had a lot more freedom. The guys on the other side, and there were like 7 of these different pods or whatever, and ours was one big pod divided into 2. And those people over there, they took medication and they were wacky, dude. And like we didn't interact with them because they had like serious problems. And one time, one of the kids over there got loose, and this was weird. It was like the night that I saw this, the first time I saw one. This kid had gotten loose because they had left the door open while they were doing a code red, which is like they grab some kid and have to get them under control. And so one of the kids just wandered over into our side and went and hid in one of the dorms, and then came out and just started beating the crap out of another kid. And so I'll never forget that night when they had us all on lockdown, and I had a roommate. His name was Matt, and he kept saying that at the window he was seeing this. I was 16 years old. He was seeing this little fairy looking. He kept calling it a fairy, like a little man with wings. And so I caught a glimpse of it one night, and I kind of like made myself just think, no, that I didn't really see that. Like, what the hell was that? You know, this was literally probably not even a year after I had seen that dogman creature when I was 15, which kind of opened my world up to the possibility that there were other things. And so I asked Matt, I was like, what is that? But he was sleepwalking. And I didn't know that he would sleepwalk, and he would go and like bump into the wall and just walk into the wall. And so I realized he was doing that. And then the next day he was like completely coherent. He's like, did you see it? Did you see the fairy? And I was like, you know, I saw something, you know? So then one night on a Saturday, my grandfather, before he passed away, he would always like send money to my thing or whatever, so I could get food and stuff like that and whatever. And this was about a year before he passed away, a year and a half. And I was walking with 2 people. One was a tech and one was a guard. Now, usually they make you walk with 2 guards, but I kind of was like a trustee, I guess. They didn't call it that. But that you had like level 3 privilege or whatever, and you could actually go out into the patio and not be assisted by someone. But to walk across campus like that, which is what they called it, wouldn't really call it a campus. But anyway, we walked through the woods, and we were coming around this one path. And I'll never forget, I remember the names of the guys that were with me. And one of them, years later, used to come to my nightclub. And one of them's name was Shelby, his name was Craig. And I'll never forget this. They worked there, and they were college kids. You know, one of them was the security guard, and the other one was a tech. And the tech is basically like a security guard, but they have a little more training. And so these guys, you know, they have to take all kinds of tests and stuff because they're going to be around kids and all this. So they're not like, you know, weirdos or crazy, whatever. And they saw what I saw. And this thing came and it zipped around a lamppost like 2 or 3 times, and we all saw it. And then I knew that the thing I had seen in the window that's what that was. And to me, it looked like a cross between a human and a grasshopper, dude. That's all I could describe it. It sounds completely weird.
The appearance varies, and the larger ones, some of them that I have like photos and stills of and stuff are rather insectoid, I guess you'd say. But let me tell you about the stuff that your viewers are going to want to hear, because I only have like I said, about an hour to be on the show and everything. But first thing is I need to let everybody know, normally speaking, I would tell you guys to go to the new site to see the footage, the documentary that we're talking about, which would be maxhawthorne.com. So my name and a .com. Right now, the site is being revamped, repaired, etc. So if you want to be able to get in on the action when it goes, you know, live, I suggest you first get on the email list, which means you go to my author site, which is cronusrising.com. Cronus with a K, so cronusrising.com, and just submit. Sounds like submit. Subscribe to the newsletter. As soon as the site is live, I will, you know, tell everybody. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you want to see some free stuff in the meantime, my Facebook group, which obviously these guys know about, is called Monsters and Marine Mysteries. I do a Thermal Thursday post once a week. I started 3 weeks ago, and these are actual images of Lord knows what in there, but you can go on and you can check them out and see what you think, and so forth. The last one I did had two very distinctive things swirling around at this private residence. One is an obvious reptilian creature or being, and the other one, it sort of looks like a phantom, like ghost with a very human face. One person in the know told me it might be what they call an Arcturian, which is a blue-skinned extraterrestrial. I don't know. Okay, but you can see for yourself. The one the week before that is crazy because it looks like the opening of a portal that was actually in my house, and my cat was standing guard at the door with this narrow gap in the door, and on the other side of the door, which looked pitch black at first, but when I zoomed in and then brightened it, it looks like a whole universe or a galaxy. And you see all sorts of faces, including your dog man is there, my friend. And I'm not kidding.
What did the portal look like when you first saw it?
I didn't see it.
Oh.
Like when I took the picture, the picture. And then when I was like, what? I was like, why was he being so protected? He had plopped down right the entrance with his big head. We got big Siberian forest cats. They're like the size of a bobcat, blocking the gap, which is about yay big, and his tail was lashing like, when a cat's angry and you see that tail lash. And whatever was on the other side of that, obviously was afraid to come in. The first thing I saw when I zoomed in was a ghost cat, which are common, at least in my experience. And you could see the cat's face. It's not a live cat, but it's there. But then when you start to zoom in more, and I have all sorts of close-ups on there so everybody can check it out, but you will be able to see all these different entities and beings. It's really freaky. And like all I tell people is look for the eyes. Eyes are very distinctive. It's not just a mirror to the soul. It's easier to find stuff. So when you see a pair of eyes or even a single eye, and you look for it and look what's around those eyes, then you're going to start to see stuff. There's grays there. There's like either a dog man and its reflection or two of them back to back, like one in front of the other. There's all sorts of crazy stuff. So anyway, but that's, for, your people free of charge to go on Facebook and see that stuff. You want me to tell you how all this started now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this goes back 14 months ago, February of last year. I think it was February 16th, but I've been doing so much stuff. Don't hold me to the exact date. It was 4 o'clock in the morning approximately, and I was at a house where I stay sometimes that's in a heavily wooded area of Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And ever since that ferry incident we were talking about, and everything. And by the way, when you see the documentary I'm going to do on them, I bet you, dude, you see stuff and you'll be like, that looks like what I saw. Okay. So I have a whole series of these documentaries coming out. But so I was like on this mission. I wanted to prove that these fae, these winged creatures existed. I took so much abuse from one of my siblings and his child, my niece, that I actually stopped talking to them. And that's been 7 years or going on. And let me tell you, it's been a little slice of heaven. Okay. I have no patience for abuse or BS from people, trying to act like I imagine something or, oh, it was the snow flurries. Some fell off a branch and the wind took it and it swirled around and you imagined it, that type of stuff. It was like, anyway, so I was on the hunt to try and prove these things existed. And interestingly, I don't know if it was a few days or a few weeks before this happened, I finally got like 3 or 4 frames of one of these fairies on a trail camera, like it was triggered by it. Okay. And I realized the problem was the thing was flying so fast that by the time the camera activated, it was almost off screen. So I only got like 3 or 4 frames of it. Now, one of those 3 or 4 frames is astonishing. Okay. I mean, like, it's the money shot, as we say, but I wanted more. So I was at this house and like I said, it was 4 a.m. I'm a bit of a night owl. So sometimes I don't sleep, writer, you're out there, whatever, doing your thing, all hours of the night. So I was there, and this cat, and by the way, cats are amazing for this stuff because they can see in the ultraviolet spectrum. They have like heat sensors on their skin and stuff. They can see and sense things that we can't. So, for anybody who has a cat, they're great guardians and protectors when it comes to certain things. Okay. So go to a shelter, get yourself a nice cat. That's my advice. Take care of that bad boy. Anyway, so the cat was going nuts. He wanted to get outside on the deck. And I had this camera affixed to a deck post going down the stairs. The bottom of the stairs about, 5 feet up, something like that. So I went outside, which is probably pretty stupid. in retrospect, but this is why women live longer than men, because we will do stupid things, right? You guys know you've done it, all right?
Makes
We've
you
all done stuff.
smarter.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Women definitely have an intuition when it that men seem to be like kind of lacking or something. I don't know. And then we
Yeah.
just kind of do things, and then it just happens.
Well, that's why
Women
it's
learn
yeah.
from watching us make mistakes.
Well, it's also I heard something downstairs. I think it's a burglar.
Yeah.
Go check.
You go check.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so forth and so on. Been there. But anyway, so I go out on the deck, and it was dark and it was creepy. The only light was out. There was these little like glass jars that had these like artificial like solar powered fireflies in them or something like that. Some sort of weird stuff. So you could see it a little bit. And I went down to the top of the stairs, and I'm standing there and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And I kind of figured, like, I was thinking this thing was going to burst out of the tree line, so I was waiting on it. I wanted to try and activate the camera, like, to time it, let's say. And as I'm standing there, this wave of cold, like, flows over me. Like it felt like literally you're standing there and all of a sudden, like, woo, like this, and it came through you. Okay. And when your people get to see the documentary, you will see when the entity backs away from me and you watch the temperature, you're going to see it go up immediately. Okay. And that's built into the camera. That's not something you can fake, or at least I wouldn't know how to. And coupled with that cold, there's this sort of like if you're a fisherman and you're out on a lake and a thunderstorm is approaching, that pressure front that comes with it,
Mhm.
or like static electricity. If you rub your forearm on a balloon and your hair will stand up, sort of like that. And it started getting stronger, and the hair on the back of my neck started going like this. And eventually I I had activated the camera, but nothing happened. Like I flashed it, meaning like that's what I call flashing the camera, where you take your hand and you go like this in front of the trail camera, which makes it, triggers it or whatever, and keeps your hand out of the footage, of course, because you don't want you're blocking stuff. But anyway, I didn't see anything, and it started getting pretty creepy. So I decided, okay, that was enough, and I went back inside. It wasn't until the next day that I saw the actual footage, which everybody will get to see. But the footage initially, it looks like I thought it was something blocking the lens, which was weird. I was like, that's weird. There was no snow, there was no sleet, there was no wind, there was no mist, there was no fog. All all this is in the documentary, to confirm everything. Sorry about that. Probably coming down with my daughter's cold. But anyway, so I was looking at this stuff, and as you guys will see when you're watching it, it looks like an energized fog, let's call it. Except it's moving like a cyclone, like swirling around, like this. Okay, if you're looking at it straight on, it would be moving this way and going around. Okay. So the fog looked very weird, whatever it was. Like it looks like plasma or something like that. Okay. And so I started messing around with it and doing different things, slowing it down, speeding it up. And it wasn't until I started working with contrast that I started to see stuff. And when you first look at the images and stuff, and I think did I send you like a still that you can show on here?
Yeah, I think so. Let me look. I don't repost the photographs on the show.
No, but it's for you to use for, promotional purposes and
because
whatnot.
that just starts arguments, and everybody's like, "It's fake." It doesn't matter whether it's fake or not. They're going to say it's fake.
Well,
there's this one right here. You can see that.
Oh, but you can't actually put it on the screen here for anybody?
I can. I guess I could. Let me see.
If you want.
I can put it on there. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
Sure. Should I keep rambling?
Yes.
Okay, cool. You don't want to bore anybody.
He's like, yeah, go ahead.
Otherwise, I got to come up with something to say, and I'm just listening to you.
Sure. So what happened is, like for everybody that in the most basic terms, okay, when you increase contrast, the more contrast in a photo, increasing contrast makes lights lighter and darks darker. Okay. So in extreme circumstances, if you saw like a light bulb sticking out of a wall at night, okay, under normal circumstances, this is now near IR film. So it's black and white, infrared type footage. Okay. But if you saw a light bulb, you would see the light bulb, you would see the glow around it. The glow would gradually fade until it was dark around it. Okay. If you increase the contrast, eventually it'll go boom, 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 until eventually you end up with just the shape of a light bulb, pure white, and everything around it will be black. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like an extreme version. So when I increased the contrast to like 50%, the field shrank, and all of a sudden it became obvious that it was shaped like a person or a being of some kind. Okay, which is one of the simple frames that I showed you. It's not one of the what I call the money shots, but it's to show you how the cloak, we'll call it, contracts around this entity. Okay, and it became like a profile picture on some social media thing where the person doesn't have a picture and it shows like a head, a neck, shoulders, that type of stuff. And that's what I was seeing. And I'm like, well, that's starting to look like it's shaped like a person or something like that, and the whole thing was like that, except it was moving and you could see where it would come closer to me. It got very close to me at one point. I mean, this guy was about 6 feet away. Easily could have grabbed me with no problem like that. All right. But and you could just tell that this was some sort of being, some sort of entity. It was mobile, it was moving. And like I said, if it got closer, the glow increased, like as it backed away, you'll see it starts to fade and it sort of wraps in on itself. So it appears that this is some sort of cloaked entity that's inside of that field. Okay. And unfortunately, I don't think you guys have had the chance to see the footage yet because there's the site, right?
I just got it on your Facebook page a minute ago.
No problem. So what happens now is this is that when things get really funky is so I'm sitting there and I've got like 30 seconds of this footage. Okay. And I'm like clicking through it. And back then I knew nothing about editing film or even how to scroll through. So I would hit like the stop button using my mouse, the arrow and then the pause button. And when you do that, you go every like whatever, 5 frames, 8 frames. I have no idea. It's not like precise. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was about the middle of it. Yeah. So this is just like one of the simpler shots. And
Big
this,
mics
you can see indications of actually the being in there. You can see some indications of eyes, eye sockets, jawline, the neck, the shoulders at the bottom, etc. Okay.
You can see an eye in there. I mean, you can see. It's weird, man. And you can see like teeth. It looks like teeth, like almost like an X-ray.
It gets, and that is why I believe that this technology that is used to conceal these beings functions like an MRI or an X-ray or something like that. And I discuss this in the documentary as we're analyzing everything step by step. So there's no hoaxing here. There's no like, oh, that black blob is, like a werewolf and it's carrying an elephant and whatever, this type of stuff. Okay. Everything is, you see the footage from the beginning. You see each stage as it's adjusted with contrast to make it pop better. And then we go the frame by frame analysis when we can get through the field. So the field, this is the tricky part, appears to subtract from the being. Okay. It takes away. And I think that's how it keeps him invisible to us, to our eyes. Okay. Not to cats necessarily or to certain other animals or creatures or beings or whatever. But so it's kind of like if you have an MRI, it strips away layers to show you what's inside, right? Or a CAT scan, that type of stuff, an X-ray. Yeah. Okay. So there are parts of the documentary where he's exposed, but he's skeletal. You can see like his skull in the beginning, like he's turned this way to his right, to my left. Okay. And very rugged, bone structure, etc. Then you see him turn straight on. And this is when he realizes that he's being filmed and his eyes sort of pop. Okay. It's like this and everything. And right after that is the first shot that I came across, which I was about to mention, which I call the grimace shot. Okay. And this is what I was toggling along. And all of a sudden I stopped and I'm like, is that a face? And I'm looking. And it was 100% a face. And you could see eyes, and you could see a heavy brow ridge, and a conical head, and heavy cheekbones, and a heavy jaw. There's no nose. It's more like a muzzle, like a flattened thing with or semi-flattened with nares, large mouth, sharp teeth. And what's really cool in some of the shots is you can even see on the throat, there are vertical scales, very similar to that on a crocodilian's underside, like an alligator or a crocodile. And everything. So
it definitely has the appearance of what could be a reptilian, and that's a very specific kind of reptilian too. What you were saying when you're talking about this being, it's funny because yesterday, and just for the audience's sake, Max and I we communicate here and there, but we did not discuss this encounter.
No.
We have not discussed it. And yesterday, I told one of our guards that was working a site down in Manchaca is the correct way to say it. The natives called it that, and it's the Spanish. But there was a ranch that was there, before, and so somebody had been they'd taken their own life there in that property. And when we looked at the blueprints, you could see the apartment that we were using as maybe I don't believe in coincidences, maybe, but the guards were having weird encounters with something, and that was where the master bedroom was for the original ranch house, because I didn't know that until Andrew took the blueprints and showed me and said, "Look at this. Look at what this is at." Part of his bedroom overlapped, so he may have actually taken his life there at that spot. But long story short, there was a knock on the door, and Mike, one of my guards, ended up getting seeing this shadow person, and the way he moved, it was weird and kind of pixelated. And he said that when he was running away, it looked almost like a two-dimensional form, kind of pixelated, like an Atari figure, like Pitfall or something. He described it as that, and he goes, "I don't know, man. It was like Pitfall." He was telling us all this, and he told several of us this story. I was the only one that was told that, but and we were just kind of in shock. But then there was some other weird stuff that went down too. But anyway, we talked about it last night, and I thought that was quite interesting that you just showed that picture, and somebody made the connection and said that it looked like an X-ray of a shadow person.
Well, the being in there is 100% reptilian of reptilian ancestry. I call him Handsome. That's my nickname for him, which I believe he likes being called that, by the way. But that's beside the point. And yeah, I have additional footage of him that'll be in the next documentary. But you can see when your guys are watching this, you will see there's many indications in terms of species, etc. There are tubercles on the brow ridge and stuff, which are like bump-shaped scales. Okay, there are the throat scales that, like I said, match those of a crocodile or an alligator or something like that. You can see the teeth and everything like that. He may look a little scary, okay, but that is because his skin is stripped away by the cloak. Understand? At least in this initial documentary, I have later footage where he's more complete, let's say. But he's not a monster. He's an intelligent being, and you can tell this because, first off, that he's emotional. When I say that, when he realizes he's being on candid camera, which I believe they have strict rules against being seen or anything like that, his expression, it goes from astonishment to this look, the grimace shot, where he's like this, oh, like that. It's like if you're driving and you're speeding and you get pulled over. You know the look. We've all done it, okay? Where you're oh, and you're in trouble. You're going to get written up at work. You're going to get fired. Something bad, whatever. He has that expression, okay? But these guys obviously must have some sort of code of conduct because he was right there and I was right there. And if he really wanted that camera, or anything like that, or anything could have happened. Understand? And these guys are not small. I actually got a few months later, I got one of his tracks in the woods in that same area. I guess they were hunting deer, and the foot track is, I believe, 21 inches long and 7 inches across, which is the size of a large Sasquatch track. Okay, so good stuff.
So Lola says he never tried to eat you.
No, he did not. And he has a partner, not a mate, like one that I think is a little younger and a little smaller, that I call Smiley, that actually deliberately mugged for a camera at one point, smirked right into the lens and everything like that. I don't know if he was trying to, at that point, intimidate me, or testing his cloak to see if it would still work, or to see if I could still see them, or what it was, this type of thing. But no, he did not try to eat me. They've never tried to eat me. In the beginning, they were not happy, I think, that I had this footage. I'll be clear on that. They did try to scare me a few times, I believe, in the beginning and stuff like that, which was very interesting. Because the first time I was lying in bed, and although this wasn't my house where this initial thing happen. I believe like once they see you, you're easy to find. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that's like by smell or by aura or whatever it might be. But I was lying in bed and it was like, I was trying to sleep. And I told you, like sometimes I'm like a vampire and I just can't sleep, So I get very crabby when I haven't had enough sleep. And I was lying there on my side, on my right side, and I was trying to fall asleep. And I was like, oh, like you ever try and fall asleep and you're exhausted and you can't, you're just miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Usually I can do it though, but there's been a few times where like in the last several months, because of all the stress, that I just can't unwind.
Mm-hmm.
Usually not the problem though.
Yeah, well, I get very crabby when that happens. So I'm lying there on my side and something roared right in my ear. And when I say roared, it almost sounded like a lion. That deep, that resonating, etc. Okay. And I knew it was one of them. Okay. I'm not sure which one. Okay. But I literally just like looked over my shoulder and in polite terms, I told him to go have intimate relations with his mother. Understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can imagine the words that go along with that. Obviously, this is a family show, so I'm not going to use that language on here. And the reaction, you could feel the reaction was kind of like what, like this and everything. And I laugh about it because it was kind of like he ain't afraid of no ghosts. What do you know? Like this kind of thing and everything. But it's like I think after a while they started seeing like figuring out who I was. I don't know if they ever read any Cronus Rising books, which do have prehistoric reptiles in them. Okay, and maybe they were like, oh, maybe he's one of us. We're going to have to check his DNA, and stuff like that. Or the fact that I have a pliosaur painting, original painting promotional for one of my books on the wall of my office, or all the fossils I have, stuff, or who knows what. But I think they basically eventually accepted this, the situation. And I think once they saw the work that I was doing, it's not like spreading like panic. Like, oh, they're out to get us. Oh, they're trying to take over. Oh, they're going to eat me or something like that. I think these are intelligent beings that function in an organized society, probably with a lot of different species intermingling and stuff like that. And I think that they are here more, these ones at least, as observers, to observe, to overlook, to see, to report back, things of that nature. I think a lot of people need looking after. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Somebody asked where this was taken at. Exactly where.
It is I promised I would not reveal a location, but it is in a heavily wooded region of Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which, by the way, is infamous for Bigfoot, UFO, and dogman sightings. In fact, if you look up Doylestown, which is probably maybe 8 or 10 miles from there as the crow flies, you will see like dozens of reports of wolfmen, dogmen, some 9 feet tall and stuff. Makes me wonder about some of the disappearances in that area and stuff, hunters and stuff.
Lolo wants to know if they've ever tried to talk to you, mentally or otherwise.
The roar, I'm pretty sure, was verbal. I have heard from them, yes, multiple times. It's not all the time. They do have this amazing ability to. It's like like, are you familiar with an author named Whitley Strieber?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he lives in San Antonio. That's another Mandela effect. I remember him passing away and Art Bell talking about it, and now he's alive.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just saw him on a show recently. How could he be dead?
Yeah,
okay.
I have mutuals with him. So what happened with Whitley?
No, so Whitley was saying how when the Greys got him, poor bastard. Luckily, they haven't gotten me. But like they were able to speak to him without their lips moving. And it was as if they were bypassing the auditory canals and you were hearing them. Like when we hear the sound and then our brain translates it. Understand? When they do this, it's like it bypasses the hearing and it goes straight to the processing center, I guess you'd say. So when the first 1 or 2 times it happens, it's very weird and very unnerving, But yes, I have, spoken to them briefly. They do the talking. I kind of suck at this stuff, and sometimes I don't hear well and things like that. So the messages aren't commonplace, let's say. But the first time I heard them, I was like trying to like convince them to do something that they didn't want to do. Okay, and I'm not going to say what that was, but I got a very loud no like that, and I was like, no, this needs to no like that, and I was like, why not? And then it was like a grumble and then nothing. So there was that one. There's been a lot of them, and sometimes it's funny stuff because they kind of seem to have a particularly wry sense of humor, shall we say. Okay. And at the risk of sounding nuts, I was with people in a zoo after that. And yeah, I'll say it. Like, when I hear from them, you never know when it's going to happen. It's like, I think they just pop in sometime, to just see what I'm up to or something like that. But, and we were in this one exhibit and there were some small black monkeys there, like, or something like little apes and stuff. And I heard this, "Hey, is that one of your relatives?" Like that, trying to be funny and everything. I swear to God, like that's how they are. They're like obnoxious and stuff like that. And I was like, I literally went, I was like, you have to think the response. And I just went, it's very funny. I said, wait till we get to the reptile house, and, and that's what happened. Okay. So, I think they're just like us, except they're different species. They don't look like us. Although I do believe they have like, DNA, that there must be some DNA in there from people or humans or humanoid or something like that, because they have hands like us, with opposable thumbs. They have similar physiques, in terms of like their torsos and arms and stuff like this, like that. So, I'm sure that there's some sort of either genetic modifications or who knows what to put all that together.
I think one of the things too, when you look at this with the reptilians, I've heard it said from multiple abductees that they don't think very highly of us, and they look at us as talking monkeys, which has also been said about demons. Demons have said that too, that we are like talking apes, like glorified monkeys, and that's literally how they look at us. I've had a demonologist, I've had an exorcist, and I've had like many psychics tell me that. Me myself personally, I would not correspond or be in any shape or form in any communication with a reptilian. That's just me. These particular reptilians you're dealing with, though, these are not Dracos that you're dealing with.
No, they're
So
not.
that's a bonus. They look like subterraneans, and I would say fifth. I would probably say fifth level subterranean. There's a type of fifth level subterranean that may be from this particular plane of existence, but they would have to travel very far to get here unless they did it through some sort of spirit form. So,
Their people are called Targ, Targ, which is short for Targzisian, which is not a common term, but if you look it up, you'll probably find a listing or two of it. But they, I believe that they have some dinosaur DNA to them.
yeah,
Because,
Saurians.
yeah, I looked at some of the skin and some of the scaled images I have, and they are virtually identical to some of the mummified dinosaur skins you see in certain museums, including Tyrannosaurus Rex. So they may actually have some T-Rex DNA mixed in there, with other stuff. But it's likely that maybe some of their DNA comes from here and some comes from, God knows what planet. I really couldn't tell you,
Because if you look at the history of it, do what, Max?
I said I'm not privy to, I'm not a boundless well of boundless, not boundless.
Down the rabbit hole.
Well, I'm not I don't have unlimited information. Let's put it that way. So, but
Yeah.
I don't listen to me. They're not bad guys. Okay. They can be a little sarcastic or snarky, et cetera, and all that. I think they appreciate somebody with a sick sense of humor like they have and all that. But, they've never tried to harm me. They've never, done anything bad. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't bad ones out there, though. Let's keep this in mind. You got to think of these beings like, I think they operate in a network where there's like a lot of different like races that function together, which makes sense because, there's a huge universe. There's got to be your cat is awesome, by the way. I have my office locked so one of the Beastie Boys doesn't come in here and start like, destroying stuff. But like they've all got to get along. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure like different races, different planets have like their own ambitions, et cetera, and stuff like that. But there has to be some sort of like code of conduct, et cetera, because the technologies that these other races must have, other planets and stuff, make ours like, if they wanted to take with the planet, they could do it like that. And I'm not kidding. Like just look at our technology in the last 100 years. In World War I, we were fighting with biplanes that traveled relatively slow with open cockpits with little machine guns going da, 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 like this. By World War II, we had Corsairs and Mustangs that flew at 450 miles an hour or something like that, with rockets and all sorts of other things on there. Okay, now it's like one F-22 Raptor could probably sink a World War II carrier and destroy all the planes on it effortlessly. So you see what I'm saying? That's just 100 years of growth in terms of technology. Imagine 1,000,000 years of growth, or 100 million years of technology advancement, etc. You see? So
Yeah,
anyway.
and each, the millions of year thing, Max, is important. You and I have had a long conversation about the millions of years because you're in the paleo fiction that you write, and I think it's pretty good. I've only got through halfway one of your books, and don't take it personally. I'm backlogged. I mean, but I did check it out, and I did enjoy it. It's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Giant sharks running around eating everybody. But when you stop and you look at like the time, that how long that we have been here just as humans, and I'm not talking about our recorded history. When they say that it's like if the Empire State Building was the timeline, we would just be a credit card at the top. That's the truth. That really is accurate. We have been here such a short period of time. Now there have been humanoids here. And I believe that there have been cycles upon cycles upon cycles. If you were to stop and think of how long 1,000 years is to us with our flea-like, lifespans, whatever, then you stop and you think, wow, that's hard to fathom, to be even, to be 10 times the max that we could live. Then you stop and you think 10,000. 20,000. That's, you're talking like really hard to start to, and then just, jump out to 100,000. Now, everything that you see, this bottle, this microphone, your sunglasses, your glasses, Chris, everything that you can lay your eyes on, within roughly 100 to 120,000 years, it will all be gone. If humans all just evaporated, and then all we were left with was just the whatever, all of this would become substrate. That's it. You would not even know we were here. The only way you would know is if something got buried down in somewhere and it become a fossil. And now there's something that can happen to the human body, not just with the bones and animals and things like that. They can become petrified. And it's something that happens to naturally occurring substance, not so much like like man-made substance. So those man-made things will all fall apart and break down within 100,000 years. So then when you stop and you go, okay, this is 1,000,000 years, and people are like, I don't believe that's a lot, whatever, bull crap. Okay, I don't care what any says or believes, whatever. The fact is the fact. Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of civilizations have risen and fallen because there's been millions and millions and millions of years, hundreds of millions of years, into billions of years. And so when somebody says, well, I don't believe there could have been a fish 300 million years, I think, really? Because I think it's even older than that. I think it's like 1.5 billion.
Sure.
And
Listen,
endless cycles.
This cross right here, okay, which my name is blocking it for the most part, okay, is an original Viking cross found from a battlefield, okay, is 1,000 to 1,200 years old. Now, it was restored to clean it up and all this other stuff like that. But without that, it would have been gone in another 1,000 years or something like that, etc. Okay. But anyway, Paranormal Roundtable. Reptilians might at best argue amongst themselves about how to best harvest us for food, energy, etc. They have the same end goal. I disagree with that. I believe that this is more like, if you look at the human race, okay, we range from Michelangelo on one side to Mengele on the other. And so just like with us, I think you're going to have individuals of different races that are similar. Understand? You can't just like automatically assume that everybody is bad. Something about it. Paranormal Roundtable, 1118.
Oh, somebody from the Paranormal Roundtable commented that?
Yes. But anyway, so.
Oh, my bad. Sorry for yelling. I just saw that. I didn't comment. I don't use that. So.
But I'm just telling you that you can't judge Like it's just like with people. You can't judge everybody by their skin color, by their religion, or anything else like that. You know,
I
maybe
actually
start
don't agree
quoting
with that
Martin Luther.
comment.
Martin Luther
I don't
King.
know which one of the people
That's
from
okay.
Paranormal Roundtable posted that. I'm assuming that's probably Anthony, although it could be Tony. But whichever one said that, I actually don't agree with that. Because it says at the end there, but they still have the same end goal. No, they don't. So I don't know which one of my team said that, but that's the cool thing, though. We don't all agree. We don't all get along. The reason I don't agree with that statement is because there were different levels of these reptilians that were here, and then they were here, and then some of them went extinct, just like different types of humans went extinct, and they even genocided one another. And then a lot of them ended up underground. Now somebody asked me the question one day, and it was an important question, and they said, why would there so many civilizations underground? I said, because they don't have to deal with the sun. I mean, it's a simple thing, and the temperature stays a steady, whatever, and it's more stable to be underground. I mean, and being up here, it's volatile. You're dealing with the seasons. You're dealing with hard freeze. You're dealing with super hot. I used a blow dryer today. I don't use blow dryers very often, but it was something that was in the bathroom, and I was trying to blow dry it because there was water, and I didn't want mold or anything to grow. So I'm just, whatever, because in my old condo, there was a mold problem, and I'm suing those people. But so I'm sitting there, and I'm like messing with it, and I put my hand on there to make sure it was hot. I'm like, is this warm? And I was like, ow. And then the heat from that thing, it struck me as being like in the summertime here in Texas. And of course, Chris, you're from this freaking bake oven, we have here. You'll go outside and you'll feel Max on the back of your neck or your head, and you'll feel like the sun, like somebody's taking a magnifying glass and putting it on and it just burns your skin. You can literally look at your arm and see it growing precancer cells. The sun is just burning you and you're like, what in the hell is happening? Now I went outside for 2 hours and I got to get this looked at. I mean, I'm not even joking. It's pretty. So
no, it's true. It's true. My daughter will joke and say, "Daddy, you can get a burn on your neck from walking from the car to the garage if I don't park in the garage, like outside." And it's true. I'm like very pasty. My wife is from the Philippines, so my daughter has the best of both worlds. So she's doesn't have that problem. But hey, you got to make do with what you can do. But anyway, thank you, Madeline. And actually, for anybody that goes on the Cronus Rising website there, besides registering for the newsletter, which you really, really should do, because otherwise I'm never going to be able to reach you. But there is a free book section. So there are free downloads from some of the books. If you guys are interested, it's on the house. And again,
yeah.
And if you guys want to check out the thermals I've been posting, like I said, there's appears to be 1 or 2 dogmen right on that thing looking at you.
That's crazy.
Kind of creepy. Yeah. And I'm not a fan
of
it.
You have to run, Max?
I do, actually, in about 5 minutes.
Okay. Anybody got a quick question for Max? You want to throw it out there? Daniel Diva says, if you're interested in learning about dinosaurs and everything connected to it, you need to visit the Royal Tyrrell Museum. Where's that at? Let us know where that's at. So
I think that's in British Columbia or something, somewhere in Canada. But I've done my share of paleontology. I am the person who solved the theory of plesiosaur locomotion. Your Nessie 4-flipper critters, okay, and stuff. Yeah, I have a formal paper out there with me and Professor Mark McMenamin and a paleontologist from the UK named Paul de La Salle. And yeah, that basically solved how plesiosaurs swim. And if you go on my YouTube channel, which I think is just look up at Real Max Hawthorne, I think is defined it like on Google, but there's actually a footage on there, full animation on that stuff. I've got a piece on there about the megalodon shark, which is pretty cool, showing how it was a scavenger. There's another one. We got footage recently of a whale carcass with bites on it 3 feet across. No joke.
Wow.
Now, think about that. Bruce from Jaws had jaws about 2 feet across.
Yeah, and Bruce, in case people don't know, that's the animatronic jaws that they used.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so yeah, there's some great stuff on there. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff I'm putting out for everybody. So enjoy it if you like the books. Amazon has everything. What's his opinion on saurians who originate from Earth? I sort of touched on that already, in that I believe like the Targ, and I'm not sure about other species of reptilians because there's a lot out there. I mean, a lot of them. Okay, and but I believe they have dinosaur DNA, so they may have been a species that originated from here and was modified by other races, other extraterrestrials and stuff, maybe mixed with like I don't know, hominid DNA or who knows what, or other humanish extraterrestrial DNAs, let's say, to increase size and strength and more humanoid features. I who could say? I mean, if I find out, obviously you guys will be the first to know, but I'm really, really sure, or I can make a strong argument, let's put it that way, and you will see it in an upcoming documentary, that these guys have dinosaur ancestry, at least in part.
Yeah.
So
I agree. And especially if they're 5th level subterranean, but then there's also the 4th level, but they look a lot different. Though that one appeared to be a little bit more smoother, rounded head. Max, I'm gonna let you run then, so you can go, man. Keep in
Thanks,
touch
brother.
and come back and talk more, because I didn't get to tell you my second fairy encounter that I had, because those maybe 2, but they were like really just 1. But I had another one in my Aunt Linda's house, and it looked sort of the same as the other ones, but like slightly different. And my aunt saw it too. She saw it with me.
Well, when I put that Faye documentary together, which is down the road, I got so much stuff in the pipe, let's say, that will be a perfect time for us to talk about it, because you'll be able to have some images right on there. Let's say I'll give you some stills and stuff, and we'll be able to talk at length. But anyway, thank you. I really appreciate everybody and having me on and everything. You guys are great, and have a great night. I'm going to go check in on the little one.
Yeah, I'll see you, Max. Good
Thanks,
night,
brother. Bye-bye.
So Max Hawthorne, if anybody's interested, I'm willing to talk and go down the rabbit hole a little bit about what I know about the reptilians and the different species, and we can postulate on it and maybe throw some ideas out there and maybe give you some a little bit of understanding. I mean, it's up to Chris. If you want to bail,
Well, I remember hearing about a race of reptilians that had a complex under Los Angeles. And they had been trying to dig down because the place was supposed to be full of gold and silver. And before they were able to get to the tunnel, the city of Los Angeles suddenly fired the guy, sent him packing.
Yeah,
and then about a couple of weeks later, they brought in a bunch of oil drilling equipment, and they just happened to set up right where he said the gold deposits were supposed to have been. And of course, the politicians would never lie about what they found, but they were supposed to have been a race of reptilians that had gone underground because of some, I believe it was a natural disaster, but I'm not going to swear to it. Didn't Valiant Thor say that the Earth was one of the few planets where the inhabitants lived on the surface?
It was explained very, I mean, like, it makes sense. Like, why? Because I know Mars, supposedly they live underground. And I've talked to somebody recently who had an alien abduction experience. And when I mentioned Mars the other day, she was like, look, I was taken there. And so that was something that I wanted to talk about. Maybe next week we won't have a guest. Well, no, we might. It depends. If this other guy wants to come on, he can. But I was thinking you and I, maybe Rob Yox, or maybe Jordan or somebody could just talk about some of this stuff. And I want to reach a bigger audience, because a lot of people aren't they're just not interested in this, but they don't get it. It's not all about this dogman creature. Like that's a very small nugget of the whole thing. There's a lot of it. A lot of people seeing it, a lot of reports of it.
Saturday is a kind of an awkward time for a lot of people, because that's, you got other things that people want to do. That's the advantage of being retired. Every day is a weekend for me. But a lot of people, it's like they got Saturday and Sunday, and that's it. So Saturday is kind of an awkward time to sit down and listen.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we started a little later,
Mhm.
but it seems like there's more people on a Saturday than there was on a Friday because I saw other people's streams doing very well on Saturday. But I think my audience is so used to and so geared toward this dogman, Bigfoot type thing. And so if you deviate from it, they're just like,
Mhm.
"Well, I'm just not interested." But there
Well,
there is a base that is. We get thousands of views regardless. But
you've also got the advantage there are a lot of Dogman sightings, but we're not talking like an entire universe full of
yeah,
dogmen. Whereas with aliens, it's like, good Lord, how many could there possibly be? A couple
hmm
billion of them out there. It's a bit hard to fathom for some people.
yeah,
It's like a lot of people don't like to think about ghosts because, oh my God, what if there's a ghost here in the room with me? And so instead of contemplating that, they simply will ignore it. Uh,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
little bit.
One of the reasons why I kind of started moving away from the hour-long podcast episodes, they were actually doing very well on the 16 different platforms, and we were getting paid for it. I mean, it
Mhm,
wasn't like we weren't. We were making money from that too. It's not like we were losing anything. It was going up and up and up. But I just felt like the audience that I had on YouTube was taking things more seriously, and they were not. Those episodes are like, here's 3 or 4 encounters, that's it, and it scratches the surface of the subject. And literally, I had people messaging me, and one of them really kind of pissed me off because they were like literally just lit into me talking crap about, yeah, you don't even go deep on these subjects, you don't even scratch the surface. And I'm like, excuse me, I go deeper and harder than most, like literally most of the other YouTubers and podcasters out there. I really do. And so that offended me when that person said that, and I wasn't even going to answer them, but I just thought, maybe they don't know about the live stream, maybe they don't know about YouTube at all. So I just asked the question instead of arguing and just going screw off or whatever. Like usually I just delete the email, who cares? And this person had said they'd heard all of and that they wished I would go deeper, and I told them I did, and then that was when they became argumentative. I don't see it, and I'm like, "You're not. Do you watch the YouTube?" And they're like, "I don't watch YouTube." I said, "That's the problem right there. Most of
mhm.
my work is on YouTube, and you're not watching it, so you don't know what. So why make these ridiculous statements? Like I've said it on the podcast too. Like we're on 16 platforms. You know, go and listen to one of them. And really and truly, the podcast episodes are just kind of like an introduction. I mean, you'll get a few, encounters or whatever, but it's not going to get you, a whole lot of. You're not going to because I can't put it all into 1 hour. So, it just I get really tired of that, and people that are really behind and they're on different. People are on different like levels. Like some people are just completely like caught up. They're watching every episode, and then there's people who are just like not they're just not doing it. It's like and then they want to say things and make comments, and you're like, dude, you can't do that because you're so far behind. You don't know what's going on. And then they want to like sit there and say crazy stuff. Well, one of the things about the reptilian agenda that I've been studying this for a long time, and it goes really deep. I first read a book over 20 years ago. It was David Icke, one of his books, and my brother gave me. My brother was really into this, and he back then would go to the library and he would download like huge stacks of paper. And he would make these like little notebook pamphlets, like with like 30, 40 pages of just information. And he would have Jason Broussard. Yes, I'm gonna post that comment. Yeah, that's one of the most ignorant things. And that person literally said that. I don't even bother to go deep, or I just scratch the surface. And I'm like, wow, I don't even know where these people are. Like, where are you? Like, where are you from? Like, you're obviously not paying attention. You don't really watch the show. Like, I promise you're not watching. You're not doing what you say you're doing, or you are. You're just watching the podcast episodes. And people were asking me, literally, the podcast people annoy me because they were like, well, why didn't you do a follow up of the Vampire Confessions? And I'm like, I did. Like literally that night, I did a live stream, and a few hundred people showed up. There were 700 people that watched that were watching that Vampire Confessions. It was like over 700 people in that live chat, but it was a pre-record. But we have a live chat going, and I said it over and over again. And I even said at the end of the episode, I said, go to the live stream, and we will field questions, and we talked for a couple of hours. Because on the live stream, you can do a lot more than you can for just whatever, because they can't ask questions of you when it's a pre-record. And you can always tell the people who don't pay attention to the live because they have a ton of questions they want to ask, and they fill up my my inbox. They fill up my email with a bunch of questions, and I'm like, these questions are being answered, and you're refusing to go and look at them. And one guy just did it so much, and I kept telling him over and over again. I was trying to be nice about it, and it was getting egregious to the point. I said, finally, look, man, this is obnoxious. You're emailing me every day, 2 or 3 times a day to ask a bunch of questions. And I was nice about it at first. And so I said, I'm just going to block you because you're not listening. Go to the YouTube. All those questions are being answered, and you just continually asking me these same questions. And I was getting really annoyed with a handful of them. And one of them just was like, oh, well, Josh Turner's a jerk, blah, blah, blah. He wouldn't even answer this simple question, blah, blah, blah. I did answer it over and over again, and you didn't refuse to go and read it or learn about it. That's on you. I don't understand that kind of disconnect. And it gets old. It gets really sorry, folks, if I'm breathing in, my nose is stopped up. And I don't know if I'm coming down with something or what, but my nose is completely just, so I got to breathe in through my mouth like a big mouth breather over here. But
you caught a cold from Max.
Max is cold. Everybody I've talked to lately has got some kind of cold going around. So
don't breathe into the mic.
I don't have. I don't think I have anything, but it just seems like my nose is stopped up. But the pollen count's been through the roof. It's been really bad. So that's probably what it is. But sorry, folks, if I'm doing that, I apologize.
Chemtrails too.
Oh yeah.
Or have you seen any? We get them here like there's nobody's business, and
every day. Yeah, you go out there and the sky is just crisscross with them.
And then the next day you don't feel good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the reptilian thing. Here's what I'm going to tell you and what I know about it. And I got a few minutes here before I got to run, but I can tell you this: it goes really, really deep, and there are multiple levels to this thing. And I'm telling you, the inner Earth houses, I'd say hundreds, if not thousands, of humanoidal species. I'm not even joking. Some I believe who have probably just gone extinct, and you can go down into those caves now because at one time they housed them. They're not there anymore. They're gone. But the remnants of them, I believe, are probably scattered throughout the inner Earth. And people were like, well, you'll find like bones and things like that, like fossils within the Earth. Well, that's probably why. And I can tell you this: there are at least 5 distinct different species of reptilians that live within the Earth. They don't all play together. So whoever from PRT that made that statement, which wasn't me, I'm just going to say I don't believe that they all have the same goal in mind, because they do have different levels. And before people say, well, Max is out of his mind because he thinks that this thing is friendly, I personally would not even take a chance. Because you don't know what you're dealing with when it comes to them. There could be one that's messing with you.
The spirit that inhabited that boy in The Exorcist, the true story, it was real friendly to begin with.
Oh yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs when you look at every single alien being as if, okay, is that guy going to try and kill me? Being in law enforcement, I used to tell the young guys, and they finally tried to get me to stop doing it. I told them, we know out there somewhere, out there on the planet, is someone who wants to kill you because you're in a uniform with a badge and a gun. We don't know what the person looks like. They could be an old man or a young woman, but we know they're out there because statistically they're out there. you, the young trainee, I would tell them, you have to approach every single person as if that person wants to kill you until they prove to your satisfaction that they don't want to kill you. And I wasn't trying to make them paranoid. I was just trying to not have any of my agents get killed.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
a lot of them later would say that they were glad I gave them that advice. Because, I mean, okay, maybe the guy might not want to try to kill you, but he might try to punch you in the nose, steal your gun, do something bad. And a lot of crazy things happen. So you have to look at every single alien. This creature wants to eat me until he can prove satisfactorily that he doesn't. That's kind of hard thing to do because like I said, the creature that possessed that young boy, it was real friendly the first couple of months.
Yeah. Yep. And the exorcist, it was actually a boy.
Yeah.
The truth. Yeah.
And the exorcism took place in a hospital in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I knew a couple of guys that worked there.
Oh, wow.
They had some wild stories about that. It was a Catholic hospital, 4 floors. It was an old building. And they had the kid up on the 4th floor. And once the exorcism had been completed, the hallway that led past that room was closed off. They didn't board it up or anything. Just nobody went in there. He said there's about an inch of dirt on the floor because even the guy that mopped the floor wouldn't go down that hallway. And it stayed that way. It stayed that way until they tore the building down. And the story is when they tore the building down, when the wrecking ball hit the side of the building, a huge black, they said it looked like a 10-foot long cat, leaped out of the wall right where the room was. And as it came towards the ground, it vanished.
Wow.
Try to get some sleep tonight.
Well, I read these stories constantly.
Yeah.
The folks at home try to get some sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, that's it for tonight. I got to run. Unless you got anything else to say, Chris.
No, that was it. No, just watch out for these aliens until you're sure that they're not going to try to eat you.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth. Yeah, I really don't trust them at all.
Mm-mm.
But he says that they saw it. It was the Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis. Seen it. That's crazy.
Yes.
The way that these demons too, looking like big giant black cats. That's another weird phenomena that I've come across multiple times, and I've even seen one on a job site.
It's right up there with the black dog that truck drivers all see.
And I think also too, though, I've had people tell me that's the closest they can describe it as. You know, they'll say like, "Well, it looks like a." Like I had a politician that said that there was this giant black cat that they would see roaming around in one of the buildings at the Capitol. And I was like, well, that makes sense because there's one like that in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out that there's one like that in Oklahoma. And there's another one that's like that in, like, I think Georgia. It's like, so there's all these state capitals that have these demonic giant black cats. Like, what is that? It's
because politicians, some of their less than humane activities attract that kind of thing. You know, let's face it, there's a lot of people in Washington that, well, they're not exactly that nice. Maybe a giant airplane full of holy water should fly over that city every week and just...
Instead of the chemtrails, they can just drop the holy water.
I can just picture, all these congressmen running around the streets yelling, "It burns, it burns."
So it looks like Michigan Rob's going to come on after this. If anybody's interested in going over there, I'll send him a link real quick and say, see if he wants to jump on and say what he's going to be doing. Let's see if I can do that real quick. If you need to run, you can, Chris. It's up to you.
I'm trying to keep both eyes open. I better quit trying to force myself, but
okay.
Appreciate you having me on, and I'll see you next Saturday.
Okay, I'll see you, Chris.
You bet.
So Strange Things with Chris James. That's who that is. Miguel Guetta, thank you for that donation. Thank you to everybody who donated Let's see if Boomer's in the chat. I don't know if he's already. Maybe he's already live. I don't know. Let's go look. But I had a like one more thing I wanted to say, and then I was going to jump off. Now he's got like, okay, he's getting really close. He's got like, I think 150 people till he hits 4,000. If you aren't subscribed to BMR, I would consider it a personal favor to me to go and subscribe to him. I mean, him and the Blondes and Booze, we're really close, good friends, and so is Tex, so is Rye Voss, Codega's Codex of Curiosities. Okay, said he settles his mom down before his show. Let me make sure that I'm not gonna, because I was gonna say one more thing and I was gonna jump off, but if he's ready to rock and roll, I'm gonna move out of the way. Been catching hell because I don't have a set schedule, and I'm like, really? I'm like, I couldn't really have a set schedule because I had things going on, and now it's like, I'm not. It's like I just can't. I don't know, man. That doesn't matter. People are gonna hate you no matter what you do. Jesus said they hated me first. That'd be interesting to hear what you did, what was seen like by these other truckers, Jason, because there are a lot of people who claim that they see this black dog, or they'll see this thing that looks like a black cat, which is odd to me too, because the black cat is like, what is that? And, the first time I heard that was like 20 something years ago. A woman told me that she had a demon in her house, and never got to interview her or get to the, which happens a lot. Somebody will say something and you don't get the chance to talk to them. I said, what did it look like? She's an African American lady from Louisiana, and she told me point blank, she's like, it looks like a giant black cat. She's like, it was like a cat looking thing that would float around. It had no legs, but you could see the way it floated around, and it was like cat like. And I've heard that too with dog like, and this, I don't know. It's weird. It's probably true. Head trip. Yes, Daniela, have you not heard that? Wolf, have you ever heard of someone seeing Anubis? Yes, we had someone go watch go listen to the episode Cursed by Egyptian Black Magic. The problem is that even some of my regulars will read the title of one of these shows, and then they'll just be like, eh. And that happens with the we have to come up with a catchy title and thumbnail for the hour-long podcast episode. Now, here's the problem. Now, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. I'm going to explain it to you. When you have an hour-long episode on YouTube, you have to depend on it getting views by what? The title and the thumbnail, and it's only an hour. And so the only thing you make monetarily off of that will be commercials. And so I'm trying to keep things off of a paywall. I don't like this whole thing where people tell you part of someone's encounter, if that's even what that is. I mean, who knows with these people? They're so full of shit. And then I'm sorry for cursing, but it's the truth. And then they're like, oh, if you want to hear the exciting conclusion to Fontaine's supposedly story, go pay this money for the membership, and I give it to you. So that's why we don't, and so in order to keep things not behind a paywall, Anthony, I don't know if you're listening, but you can post the link to the Patreon. The best way to do it is to become a Patreon member. You can donate if you want, or you can do the Patreon, or you can just donate to the PayPal directly. And that money will go toward keeping the show going. And one of the things I got to do with that now, I had to get my lawyer to issue several cease and desist letters because these people just don't want to stop. They want to disrupt the flow of our show and our programming and what we're doing. And they want to upend everything. And they all have a different reason. I don't know why the hell they don't know, and they're all together now in a big mega group trying to do it. People that would never ever ever have worked together ever in a million years, with completely different views on everything. And now they're all working together to destroy us. So hey, we did still and inadvertently bring people together, bring all the rats onto one ship. People that believe in ape or Bigfoot, whatever, are now working together with people who make up stories. You can't make this up, man. I'm telling you. And they're all on the same team. And one guy who is using this religious hammer or whatever is now teaming up with two people who one of them has nothing, completely secular, doesn't believe in anything. If he says he does, he's lying, because I've never known that to him to believe that. And then another one has a show where he's just a big fraud. And then there's another one now who's a giant aper who doesn't believe they're anything but apes and thinks that anybody who talks about the woo is just full of crap and whatever. But they're all on the same team, because as long as they can stop PRT, they're happy. And they'll get on there and they'll complain. Yeah, he just sits there and people give him money. Like, I'm just sitting here. I'm just like, and just waiting. And then you give me money. Well, I got money. See ya. And is that really, is it what these people think? And what goes on in their head is like, why can't that be me? Well, I'll tell you why, Buttercup. Okay. Well, one, you're lazy. Let's throw that out there. You are all lazy as hell. You probably sleep too much and you all look mentally ill. And then on top of that, you don't speak correctly. You don't have good memorization skills. Okay. You don't. And then you make silly little doodly things on your show, whatever, and you waste whatever, production value on that crap. Like, who does that besides children? Little animes and stuff. It's stupid. They do the stupidest thing. And then one of them, he's all against hoaxing and frauds, whatever. But now he's over there playing around in a chat with a guy who throws a rock and says it's Bigfoot. Congratulations. You're walking contradiction, which makes you all just big time full of shit. And then you hate me because we do real work here. We bust our ass. We talk to people. We learn things. We dive deep into the subjects. We research these things. We don't just go into Google and go, oh, there it is, and then just give you the little whatever surface answer. It's called reading is fundamental. I guess you should look into it instead of just religious fundamental, whatever. There again, one of them's like a big old atheist, another one's satanic, another one's into voodoo, and another one claims he's a fundamentalist Christian but doesn't live like it. I mean, just all full of shit, man. That's what they are. The full of shit people can rail all they want. The bottom line is this, folks, and you know this is true. You could make 1,000 of these people. They could 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000. And there could be just me by myself. And all of them are still screaming and yelling and telling big lies. And I'm telling the truth. And that's doesn't matter what they say. They could scream till their eyeballs bleed. Doesn't make it true. And it doesn't make what you're doing right or correct. And just because a majority, even if the majority was with him, what they're not, but even if the majority was with you, it wouldn't make what you do and say correct. It would not. And it's not going to make people flock to you and give you their encounters. You think that if I left the field today, if I got up from here and I went home and I said, you know what, honey, it's over. I'm never doing another show again. I'm not going to go to the studio. I'm not going to do it from the house. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to write any more books. I'm not going to do anything at all. I'm done, over, kaput. It's over. Do you think that it would make you stronger or better? Do you think that it would help your channels or help you do better and be better at whatever it is that you're trying to do, or your ridiculous exploitation of this field? Is it going to help you in any shape or form? Do you think that my listeners are going to eventually go over there and listen to you? No, they're not. Have you ever thought about, once someone tastes something, their taste buds change? They're not going to want that crap that you were shoveling before I came. And some of them were here before I came. Thank you for that. Wolf quitting won't increase their room temperature IQs. Exactly. It's not going to change a damn thing. You will still be doing subpar, crappy work, or interviewing each other, doing the same old crap, interviewing somebody and then sitting there going, wow, that's wild. Wow. That's all you do. You don't give threads that person's talking about. You don't you throw stuff out there that goes along with what they're saying. You don't ask the questions that need to be asked, and you don't go deep and explore a damn thing. It's just surface level of bullshit. It's uninteresting. It's boring. But if you want to go to sleep, folks, I mean, I highly recommend that. You know, you don't even need the delta, beta waves, whatever. Just put on some of their work and you'll just be right out. You'll sleep like a baby if you can stomach their voices. And then they let the guests drone on without doing any kind of, help or whatever. And most of the guests, like I had on a good guest tonight, and a good guest, last night we had good people on, when we talk, and my co-hosts, we talk and we do whatever. But they'll have a guest on there that needs to have a little, guide them. You don't got to lead them and spoon feed them what you want them to say, because that's a fraud. But, hell, help them out. Some people aren't going to be able to come on and talk for an hour on the live stream. And the person struggles and they just sit over there like they're stoned. Okay? So there you go. Me leaving the field is not going to make you improve. The only thing that can help you improve is you. That's it. It's all up to you. God gives you the ability, or you have it or you don't. And there are a lot of people, to quote my good friend Dave Wedley, just because you can don't mean you should. And there's a lot of them that should not. I mean, you are cluttering it up and you're wasting people's time, and you'll put a cool thumbnail or something. And you know what they do? You'll go and click on it, and it's the biggest piece of shit that you've ever seen. 28 true Dogman stories. Ain't a damn one of them true at all. They're just AI generated bullshit. Not one person talked to them and gave them that, or emailed them, because not everybody talks, but they give you an email. Or the ones that they'll read off an email. I mean, maybe somebody gave you an email, they'll read it off, which is boring as shit too, because I mean, you're not getting the effect of what the story is. And then they'll criticize me. You should let them tell the story, and then we'll all be asleep. And it'll just be one of 1,000 channels where once a week someone comes on and talks about their encounter, which is cool. I would like to limit that to maybe once or twice a week for me. Because you cannot get all these different people's encounters out that way. You are not going to be able to do that. We would be here till St. Smithens Day if you're doing one or two a week with different guests. Now, smaller channels, I understand they're trying to get built, and they do that platform, and that's good. But at some point, you're going to have to grow. You're going to have to do something. You got to put the big boy pants on and go to the next level. And some of these people are equipped for that, and I think they will. But most of them, honestly, just need to be shut down. You need to and nobody's making you shut down, because that's destroying freedom of speech. But they need to be responsible and do it themselves and move on to something else. Unless this is your grift. which they accuse me of. Do you think I need this? This is my grift. Do you think I need this? Because there's 4 other things I can do. And 2 of them I can do very well. So this isn't something that has to happen. This is something that I'm passionate about, and I care about this field. And almost every penny I get goes right back into making the show better. Buying equipment. Right now we need a new computer, and so we buy the equipment. We need cameras, and I need money for a legal fund. And it's going to happen. And all those things will happen. And I think Ken still wants to do the conference. So I'm not going to put it on the table because I'm not really, I'm not sure, but we may do it. If enough people could message me and say they will show up, then I'll say maybe we'll do this. Because I would definitely have to hire security because you have maniacs like, dumb Aggie out there. Just an Anunnaki, you stupid ass people. They do what they do. Oh yeah. Fat Waters. I know he made one. Big fat, ever expanding ass Waters. Like the story about the satanic sex or SX security company from Austin. Yeah. And then Stay Puffington Marshmallow Man goes and posts it and tells everybody that it's great. Or whatever the hell he did. And then you got the dumbass, the Aggie, the roofer guy has been showing up, hanging out with all of them. And if you're out there and if you ever decide to get the balls to debate me on air, Dark Menace, bring it. Because I know you don't want what I got. I guarantee you. You don't want to talk to me. Talk about being exposed. I got a lot of hard questions I'd like to ask you. Kid gloves come off one day. Just keep lurking around in the shadows. I mean, folks, look at his name. Who names themselves that unless they're doing something? Dark Waters. What is that? That's scrying. So, yeah. I'm sure he'll start cranking him up again and being his usual self, slinking around. The sad thing is, though, they won't be able to play together for long because evil never does. It never can. It has no way. It can't do it. It just cannot do it. It's kind of like the reptilian thing where we were talking about the reptilians. They can't do. They can't because they can't get along. They don't know how to work together. Unless one conquers the other and makes them subservient, they have no way to do that. This guy, you talk about an ego. He wants to be the boss of everybody. And I remember him threatening me, which he's done a couple times, talking about, yeah, if you ever mention my name again, I'm going to put in work on that ass. What he told me, I got the messages from that too. And I was just like, what is wrong with this guy? Just an unhinged dude. And then, going all the way back to him and Vulture threatening me one night on the phone, basically 4 years ago, whatever, because they didn't like Vic. Whatever. People obviously scared of this dude or something. I'm not scared of you, dude. I'm not scared of your big fat ass. Not even on my worst day. You're like the least scariest dude ever. Stay Cocoa Puff, Marshmallow Man. What are you going to do? Nothing. You're not going to do shit. You're going to sit there with that Kevin Hart look on your face. Like you ain't going to do shit face. That's all you are. All of you. All of you. None of you. You're not going to do shit. You ain't going to do shit. That's me right there. Throwing it out there. In fact, Dogman's going to join in with me. You're not going to do shit. You ain't going to do shit. You ain't about shit. You ain't about shit. Now go make a video of this. Run, tell that. right? Stinky Waters, what you gonna do? You gonna do some voodoo? Put some voodoo on me? You gonna pay somebody to put some voodoo on me? 2 packs of Newports? Huh? Some chocolate milks? You gonna give them some chocolate milk and some Newports? Man, this dude is so racist. He called it. He said, and had I can see the heart attack happening now. Stay off the fatty foods, dude. Lay it off of there. Exactly. Here we go. Diddy Waters. Why come the YouTuber gotta have a new house? Why come the YouTuber gotta have a new car? Don't ask no question. Just listen to my incredibly ridiculous stories. That's all you gotta do. Just suspend reality, folks, and let each story just sounds the same because they are. Because he's spitting them out on a computer, AI generated. I dare you to challenge me. I dare it. I wish you would. Right? Yeah, putting in work doing voodoo on me. Trying to put cancer on me. Is that what you're doing? That's what y'all do, right? That's so if I get it, then I know it's you. And then I just got to go and get rid of it. Whole nother deal. What it means to me to put in work. That ain't it. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You could do real work instead of just working for your daddy, doing clerical work. All right. Anyways, that's my little rant, folks. BMR is live now, so y'all can go check him out, hit him up. Just thought I'd make a little funny there, whatever, because I really don't give a shit about these people. It's just stupid. They're stupid, and they do crap. So go check out BMR. Show him some love. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, good friend of mine. He goes on Saturdays, I think, a couple times a month. And so, yeah, give him some love. And so thank you to everyone who donated. Here it is right here. Here's the link to his deal. And don't get excited, Dark, that it mentioned you finally. Okay. He's over there like, yeah, man, he mentioned me with my 5 million subscribers that I bought. Yeah, I finally, who cares? Okay. After all the low blow punches you've thrown, I finally, I said something, but I threw you a bone. You happy? You're so worried about because you're so massive brand. You're so much bigger than me. Why would you need little me to be? Why am I important? You're Persia. You're Xerxes, right? You're on that big skiff. They're carrying you, and you're like, you're standing there trying to hold yourself up. Come, talk to me. I have 3 million subscribers. I want your little country, You're nothing to me. I sacrifice all my men to destroy you. And then what? Nothing. Even if you did, people with half a brain can't listen to that. It's just the truth. Massive genius. That's what he is. I think this is Anthony posting here. This is massive genius from The Sopranos. Yeah, that's what you're a massive brand. You even made a comic book of yourself. That's amazing. That's awesome. Wow. Why don't you make some music? I know you made that ridiculous rap song that was just, I don't know who wrote it. It's like a 5-year-old wrote it. And then you write 40-page pamphlets that you call books. Everything you do is subpar. And then you say things about me. Making videos about me. And so you're crazy. Calling me Nacho and the Dirty Mexican and all this other crap. Talk about you got people on the inside. I'm sure you do. I'm sure Mr. Perry, the roofie guy, is probably your guy on the inside. Probably has been for a long time. Who cares? If all of you got together, you wouldn't have an IQ of 1. Well, you all are together. It's still not working. Anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow night, it's going to be big. We're going to have a good, big show, good time, whatever. And it's going to be great. We're going to have a Sunday, and everybody's going to, be here. Me, Anthony, Tony, and we're going to retell encounters, and we have some stuff to talk about. It's definitely going to be good. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to enjoy myself like I've been having so much fun lately doing the show. Taking that few days and just, not doing the show last weekend really helped, just kind of cleared everything for me. Yeah, we lost a little momentum. The subscriber count went down some, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll get it back. All right. So thank you. Y'all go and y'all check out BMR, man. And this isn't me complaining. This is just me having fun. Trust me, I am not hurt, upset, or mad, or angry, or ranting. I'm just having fun. I mean, these people are easy. I mean, and honestly, I should stop because it's low-hanging fruit. I mean, they are really like special needs. They really are. And not in a good way. I've met, they're like evil special needs people. Not special needs people are good, nice, people, they can't help it. No, these people are special needs and they're malicious. So don't feel sorry for them when they become a relic of the past. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow night, 7:30. Be there.